FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Gibson runs under it, starts to his left, gets to the 40, turns the corner, at the 45, 50, blockers in front, at the 40, at the Bills 30, inside the 20, stutter steps, to the 10, to the 5, touchdown! And it's a Jet touchdown! This game is over!
Pick up on the far sideline by Jordan Whitehead, number 3, wow!
Yeah, trying to force the ball. Yeah, same place, different day.
Snap is fumbled by Allen, who lunges forward and fumbles the football. It's loose, and the Jets say they have it, and they do.
He can play better. I know he's capable of playing better. He's capable of playing smarter as well, and he's got to do that for us to, number one, stay healthy, and then number two, to take care of the football.
They played a really good defense last night, and they didn't score enough points to win.
Mike Danger.
Josh Allen's ability to, in the moment, make the right decision. Make better decisions.
Gene Battaglia.
Josh Allen has to know right from wrong. Defenses, stop taking chances that you should.
Number one, protect the football. Protect the football.
Here comes Leonard Floyd for the sack.
Now Rodgers going to go to the ground. He's now laying on his back, and he is injured here.
A morning MRI confirmed the Jets' worst fears. Aaron Rodgers tore his left Achilles tendon on his fourth snap of his debut last night.
95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
The Buffalo Bills have a Josh Allen problem. Welcome into the Sports Bar, Danger and Battaglia. Glad you're with us at 95.7 FM, AM 950, The Fan Rochester, and the free-to-download Odyssey app. We're on your smart device when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan at The Fan Rochester on YouTube, on Twitch. And I have a feeling today you might want to get some things off your chest. We're here for you at 866-4326, 866-4FAN. I am Mike Danger. That is Gene Battaglia.
Well, I'm on Chuck Muncie alert today, too. So when you call into 866-4326, don't think you're going to get one by the call screener over there.
The call screener being you.
Yeah, it's not going to happen today. Do they have a Josh Allen problem, or do they have a who's coaching Josh Allen problem? Because obviously the message cannot get through. Just not.
Let's get into it right off the bat. If you watched last night's game, I found it to be highly comical how the Bills lost last night's game. Because if you rode the roller coaster of emotions, and Jet fan, man, I was feeling sympathetic for you. You saw some of the crowd shots. Zach Wilson doesn't inspire anything great. Aaron Rodgers is out of the game after 4 plays, and you're sitting there saying, we, as a fan base, are cursed. We've lived that. Bills fans have lived that. We're cursed. We can't get over. We're cursed. And you have every right to believe that when you saw your big offseason acquisition carted off the field with what would eventually be deemed a ruptured Achilles. But the Bills did everything in their power to keep the Jets in that game, specifically Josh Allen. I felt like the Bills were going to lose that game when Josh Allen threw his first pick. And I loved how, when it happened, and if you remember the play, Josh Allen rolling to his left, he has 10 yards of open field in front of him. He could have run for the first down, but there's somebody in his head, probably a coach in his head, saying, be safe, don't run. Don't take the extra hits. And he powers it downfield, deep, overthrows, interception. And everybody's reaction was kind of almost uniform, like, oh, well, that's like an arm punt. It's as good as a punt. Oh, you pinned him inside the 5-yard line. That's as good as a punt. I'm like, is it as good as a punt? Because he could have run for the first down and you would still have the ball. And, of course, subsequent play, you've got Breece Hall rushing for a long gain. Jets get some points. And it was that moment when he threw that pick, I'm like, they're not going to win this game.
I'd agree with you except for one point. I wish the coaches were in his head about don't running, because how is it that you're jumping into defenders 8 yards shy of the first down marker? How is it that, hey, I'm going to fumble the snap, A smart quarterback would just fall on it and make sure that we're getting the possession. But you know what? I'm going to try to plow ahead and make something. No, you could have run on the left sideline on that play and just walked out of bounds, and then you're living for another down. Maybe you even get the first down on that play. But you're right on that because, it's just like a punt. Really? When the other team has the ball, generally speaking, do you score points? No, you score points when you have the ball.
Correct. That was the first, and then of course the subsequent turnovers that occurred throughout the course of the night at the most inopportune times. The sloppy fumble in the fourth quarter that led to the Jets taking the lead. I mean, you had a 13-3 lead at the half
without Aaron Rodgers. All you had to do was play simple football, but that's not good enough. You had to go for style points. That's what this was, Danger. It was Josh Allen just trying to be the hero.
Loading up what I've dubbed the sex cannon. Look at how far I can throw this football. Watch me make these beautiful deep The sex cannon needs to be holstered. It needs to be holstered. You can't make every throw all the time against a good defense like you saw last night in the New York Jets. In fact, a lot of times you just need to take what is open. The pick the pick that he threw that Gabe Davis was in the direction of Gabe Davis was on a short play, and one of our coworkers, Tim, was showing me the film. Did you see this?
Yeah.
Diggs is open underneath. Kincaid is open in the flat. You've got a perfectly dialed up, schemed play for you to get the first down. All you have to do is look underneath. He didn't. He went for the big money shot to Gabe Davis pick. I don't know how much that, because when we're assessing blame like we are today, who do you blame? Well, I blame Josh Allen for making poor decisions. We've been talking about this all off season.
Yeah.
That this season would come down to whether or not Josh Allen has the ability to make the right decision. Last night, he did not. Now, is that coaching? Sure. Ken Dorsey should be a part of that. He is, after all, the guy that Josh Allen wanted in that role. Now, knowing that Josh Allen handpicked your offensive coordinator and it's not working, now who do you blame? Well, you blame the arrogance of the organization. You blame the arrogance to believe, we can give a guy who's never been an offensive coordinator work with Josh Allen, and let's see. This is where you blame Sean McDermott. You blame Sean McDermott for the way the game ended, special teams, again, punt return, again. That's how the game is going to end. It's embarrassing. It keeps happening. I'm worried that guy's in over his head, and that this is as good, that what we've gotten out of the Bills up to this point is as good as it's going to get with him as your head coach.
Well,
I don't want to believe it, but I feel like that's where I'm at right now.
Right, and the problem here with this equation is the most important person in terms of power in this organization is Josh Allen. It's not Sean McDermott. It's not Brandon Beane. If this were high school, okay, you would be benching Josh Allen. If this were college, you would be benching Josh Allen. You can't do any of that here in the pros. He's your one and only option here. He's playing bad football. That was, oh my gosh, was that rookie year bad, Josh?
My favorite statistic that crossed my feed.
By favorite, you mean least favorite.
But yes, yeah, right. But it is eye-opening, staggering when you read it, when you see it and you hear it. If I were to ask you, since the start of last season, week 1 of the 2022 season, how many turnovers do you think Josh Allen has accounted for? And I've asked this question to so many Bills fans today. I've had people say, I don't know, 15, 17, I don't know, maybe 22. He's played 19 games since the start of the 2022 season. He has 20 interceptions in those 19 games and 17 fumbles in those 19 games. That's 37 turnovers in 19 games, almost 2 turnovers a game. Josh Allen is an issue. That is an issue. And you're right. You can't do anything about how you're going to bench him. It's him. He has to get out of his own head. He's got people in his head. You know he's got coaches in his head. Be safe. Play smart. You saw McDermott last night. He even said it. Play smart. You saw him signal, play smart. You don't want to take those hits. So now he's afraid to run. Now he's afraid of the turnover. Now he's afraid to sling it underneath.
No, he's not afraid to run. He's dumb when he runs.
He runs when he's not supposed to run. Right. He doesn't slide when he's a mess. He's mentally a mess.
Here's what he needs then. Does he have a sports psychologist? How many times, take this from like a parenting thing, all right? How many times can I tell you? Can I make it more clear? And there he was on the podium last night, accepting blame. And there he will be. I've got to be smarter. I've got to do this. But when you step on the field, somehow you become a different person and none of that is relevant.
I think a lot of us are just tired of the words. And we want to start seeing the action behind the words. And there's talent there, obviously. But the decision-making is so poor. And it's been so poor since the start of last year.
And who said this over the summer?
We did.
Yes!
Nobody cares when we're right.
Yes!
But we were saying this over the summer, that this season wouldn't come down to Ken Dorsey or Sean McDermott as a defensive. All it is going to come down to is Josh Allen's ability to make the right decision in the moment.
Furthermore, for all the talk about who's at middle linebacker, who's corner 2, my gosh, we're starting a rookie at right guard. And every guest we had on during the summer, what will it take to get Josh Allen to be at an MVP level? He's regressed.
You have a team that last night, there was one point last night where I heard him say that the Bills were running 12 personnel more than 50% of their snaps. They've been talking about wanting to do that for the last 2 seasons. They were doing everything they wanted to do offensively. You were using Hardy out in the flat, using the speed of Hardy, getting Cook involved. The run game didn't look bad. Everything was clicking off. I hated the draw play call, 2nd and 15 in overtime.
Yeah.
That wasn't great. But now there's also, was it you or somebody else told me that Josh Allen checked out of the original play call?
We don't know.
We don't know?
We don't know.
Like, that call was atrocious. So, for the most part, the offense is what they want it to be. They want to run 12 personnel. They've got 2 tight ends now. They were in that set greater than half of their snaps offensively last night. And for the most part, it was working, except for when the quarterback was turning the ball over. So, needless to say, a frustrating outing. And I'm sure there are plenty of Bills fans frustrated at 866-4FAN, 866-4326 if you want to pull up a stool and join us. We'll get to 13 Wham's Mike Catalana, who joins us later this afternoon in the 4 o'clock hour, and get his thoughts from last night. And also coming up here in about 10-15 minutes, our friend Matt Perino from the Syracuse Post-Standard as we go heavy Buffalo Bills this afternoon and recap that Week 1 loss in the Meadowlands. We'll also have Gene's Survive and Advance pick. Ooh. Survivor Football Week 2. That'll be coming up here right around 4 o'clock. Some takes on tap. And as I mentioned, the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line is open for you at 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Award-winning barbecue from Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub. The new location, 135 West Commercial Street in ER. GoodSmokeBBQ.com.
We also have the story, we'll get to this, about this horrific allegation against Terry Pagula, and that kind of dropped today in a lawsuit. So we'll get to that and more. Our number, 866-4FAN, 866-4326. Starting us off, as you know, he quite often does, Tim in San Diego. What's going on, Tim?
Well, you guys are full of, shall we say, I don't know if I can say something, but piss and vigor about Josh Allen today, which is all deserved. There's no doubt about it. And, of course, you know, Danger, you mentioned sex canon. I had to look up Harvey Weinstein. It's like, I wonder if that's how he approached all those ladies that he, you know, were back in the day. But anyway, everything you said, well deserved. I mean, it's just, Josh has to be smart. I mean, the first half was fine. You know, like you mentioned, running the 12 personnel, everything was clicking. And that's all he had to do in the second half. But then, you know, again, the sex canon, you know, he had to make it happen. He tried to make it happen, and just some of those throws, and obviously you mentioned, you know, the one where he had 10 yards of daylight in front of him, and then he just decides to, you know, throw an interception. It was just uncanny. And then, you know, Dorsey obviously has some of the blame too in this play calling. You mentioned the 2nd and 15 on the overtime drive. And I couldn't believe what I was watching last night. Now, is this overreaction Tuesday? We don't know. But there wasn't a lot that changed from last year to this year as far as, offensive scheme, in terms of being consistent, in the play calling on offense and so on. And there's also a little bit of a weakness on the edge of the defense, as you saw, Breece Hall exploding for, those two huge runs, for the Jets. So they just need to set the edge better, and they did that for the most part. But overall, I think, the Jets are, like what the Browns are to the Bengals. I think the Jets are the Bills' kryptonite, and, they just have their number. And, and the Jets are going to be tough all season. Zach Wilson obviously played a lot better than probably people expected. And I think that's due in part to just learning from Aaron Rodgers. And, now Aaron Rodgers is going to be his quarterback coach essentially for the rest of the season. So I think, you might see something in Zach Wilson this year that, that the Jets will make the playoffs, I think, overall. But with the Bills, that was terrible overall. And, like your criticism was, it's well-deserved. Josh Allen's just got to rein it in, take the dink and dunk, let it go, and just win the game. You don't need to have the 50-yard touchdown every time.
Yeah, Tim, well said. Way to start us off. Appreciate that, Tim. I would just say, we talk about fan bases overreact in week one, but we're so close to it.
Yeah.
These are the problems we have been talking about for months and months and months. Did they actually go out and fix the running game? No, they didn't. Did they actually get Josh to do what they want him to do? No, they didn't. Did they... And Tim brought this up. Look, you only allowed 16 points. That's not the reason you lost, but it doesn't help when you're giving up big run plays because of missed assignments. So that is a tiny sliver of the blame as well. Jason calling in from Greece. Hey, Jason.
How you guys doing? I just wanted to say I agree with what you're saying with the coaching staff because I've been hearing a lot about process for 7 long seasons. We're going into our 7th here, and I feel like McDermott he's like Ron Rivera, where he can help turn your franchise around to you're not losers anymore. He broke the drought. I don't think a lot of Bills fans, if they dig deep, I don't think they really believe this guy can get to a championship ring. I don't believe it. And I think he's proven over and over again that the biggest moments, especially in the playoffs, and those chess games got to hit, he's overmatched. That's all I wanted to say.
Jason, I mean, everybody that thinks that way right now is justified in feeling that way. You've seen this movie before. Mm-hmm. Sloppy play when it matters most. End of game. To end the game on a punt return. Gross. 13 seconds. Disgusting. Just no attention to detail. No attention to detail. When you think about where he came from, it kind of makes sense. He worked with Andy Reid when he was in Philadelphia, and Andy Reid in Philadelphia was known as what? Sloppy. He was sloppy with his play calling. He was sloppy with his management of the game. No attention to detail. And that's Sean McDermott. Maybe someday he becomes a championship caliber coach. It ain't here and it ain't now.
Well, that's where I'm wondering. Last night being the defensive head and the head coach, you have a drastic change in the game plan. The opposing quarterback, the future Hall of Famer's out. Okay, so what should you do the rest of the game on offense? Maybe dumb it down. Maybe just kind of make it simple and get out of there with a 13-10 win. There's no shame in that.
Well, that might have been what they did. We don't know because you have a quarterback that wants to unleash the sex cannon. I'm going deep. I see Davis deep. I'm going for him. It's an arrogance. It's a hubris. It's
somebody from the Bills media asked Josh if he's got a sports psychologist. Like if you watch the quarterback show, there's Kirk Cousins sitting down with somebody. Honestly, you say you're doing all these things, and then you do the opposite. Your hometown in North Grilton, one of your neighbors there, Danger.
East Hilton, represent. Who we talking to?
Nicky G.
Nicky G, checking in. All right, the floor is yours, buddy. Have at it.
Hey guys, how you doing today?
Excellent.
Okay, I'm gonna just say this. Can people just shut their piles about Dorsey? This is not a Dorsey problem. This is a Josh Allen problem. Last year, number 2 defense, number 2 offense in the NFL, all top 5 category. This offense was better than Brian Daboll's offense when he was an offensive coordinator. Okay, it's decision making. I love Josh Allen. He's a baller. He's a great quarterback, but enough with these stupid mistakes and these stupid interceptions at the wrong time. He had 20 yards open space that he could have ran for a first down. That one, the one interception to what was the one there? To Davis. There was 3 or 4 guys wide open.
Yeah.
He didn't even go to them. So I don't want to hear about Dorsey anymore. Is he perfect? No. But how are you going to go after somebody that's had the number 2 offense in the NFL last year, and all of a sudden you got a problem with him? This problem is Josh Allen, and I'm sick of the excuses. Stop saying the same thing. Oh, what's the definition of an insanity? Is doing the same thing over and over again. Stop with these. Oh, I know I should play better. It's on me. It's my fault. I don't want to hear that crap anymore. You're a top 5 quarterback in this league. Act like it, and don't blame everybody else. This is on you, pal. Okay, get your head out of here. You know what? And start playing football. That's all I got, guys. Have a good
Appreciate
day.
you, Nicky G. There he is, stopping by the sports bar.
Well, okay, but
and by the way, he's not a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. The talent is there for him to be a top 5 quarterback. I don't even think he's a top 5 quarterback in the AFC right now. Right now, the talent is there. Talent, yes. But the play does not match the talent right now. It's not in sync. It's not.
Okay. Well, look, you gotta separate the recency bias of last night.
No, this is dating back to the beginning of last season. I laid it all out. I mean, the turnovers are killing this team, killing him, killing this team, and it started at the beginning of last season. Now, I'm with Nicky G. I'm not really assessing blame on Ken Dorsey, even though that's the constant here, that Ken Dorsey is the guy that took over for Brian Daboll. And since Brian Daboll left, Josh Allen hasn't really been what we saw that last year with Brian Daboll. But it's all about the turnovers for me. It's all about the decision-making. We can talk about the coaching and their influence and their impact. But in the moment, he has to be better at making the right decision.
Matt Perino was at the game last night. He'll be joining us next year.
We'll talk some more Buffalo Bills as they lick their wounds to get ready for the Vegas Raiders coming in for the home opener on Sunday. Matt Perino, the Shout Podcast and Syracuse Post-Standard, joining us next in the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia on the Fan Rochester.
Are you a digital or media sales?
Chicago. This is my buddy Andrew Filipponi. He's based out of Pittsburgh. You really got to check out our podcast, First and Pod.
Twice a week, we're going to break down the NFL after Thursday Night Football and Sunday Night Football. It's every team. It's every game. It's all 32 teams. We give you a complete picture, and we get into it. We don't kiss each other's fannies on this show.
New episodes of First and Pod available when you wake up every Monday and Friday morning throughout the football season in the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
The Buffalo Bills, the Buffalo Sabres, the Rochester Americans. All of the sports we care about in Rochester are right here on The Fan Rochester. Listen anytime on the free Odyssey app.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Buffalo Bills losing a stunner to the New York Jets on opening night. In overtime, we'll talk to Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard, and the Shout podcast. That's coming up next here in the Sports Bar. It's official. Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers has a ruptured Achilles. Rodgers is out for the season. Former Syracuse and Buffalo Bills wide receiver Mike Williams has passed. This according to his agent. Mike Williams was 36. In a lawsuit filed by a former NFL.com employee, Jim Trotter, Bills owner Terry Pegula is accused of a racist comment. The Buffalo Bills have put out a statement strongly denying the allegation. Baseball, the Yankees a game below 500, game one of a doubleheader with the Red Sox. Right now, it's Boston trailing. Yankees up now 3-2 in the sixth. Rochester Red Wings begin their final homestand of the season tonight against Lehigh Valley. Gene Battaglia, The Fan Rochester.
Neat or on the rocks? It's the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Again, I couldn't tell you right now. I got to go watch and learn from this one. Just didn't execute. Forced me to make a decision. Again, it's knowing the situation, understanding what I can and can't do, and I can't do that there. No, I mean, at the end of the day, I still had a chance to win it, and that's one thing I'll always have is just the confidence to go out there and get it done. And, you know, we prepared so hard. The effort was there. Our guys played so hard. Defense gave us opportunities. They played a heck of a game, and, you know, it sucks when, you know, you feel like you're the reason, and I am the reason why we lost tonight.
Josh Allen last night after the Bills' fall to the Jets, week one of the NFL season. Matt Perino was at the Meadowlands. Excited to welcome him into the Sports Bar here with the reaction from last night's game. Usually we say when the quarterback wins, they get too much credit. When they lose, they take too much blame. Although it felt like last night, if you wanted to blame anybody for that L, it's 17, is it not, Matt?
Guys, it's mind-boggling. Like, I'm sitting there in the press box in New York, well, New Jersey, excuse me, and watching Josh Allen in year 6 do the exact opposite thing that he said all week he was not going to do. And you get into the game, and I get it. Things happen, you know, the live bullets, talking about, you know, how when you get out there, sometimes it's just about reaction. But you got your coach kind of yelling at you on the sidelines to be smart, and you're going out there and you're just putting the ball in jeopardy. And I think maybe the most egregious of all of the mistakes, you know, the fumble was, you know, you bobble the ball, you try to, like, pick it up. I mean, that's bad, like, right? But I get it in the heat of the moment. You got the 2 interceptions where, you know, you're pushing the ball down the field, like, you know, that's in his MO. But the one to Gabe Davis is just like the slow motion replay of all of the options that he had on that play, and he chose the most difficult pass. And, you know, any of the other decisions probably would have yielded a first down. And instead, mistake after mistake, you know, the Jets basically, they didn't have any lifelines left after Aaron Rodgers went out. That offensive line was bad. The Bills' defensive line was consistently getting pressure throughout the game, even when Zach Wilson was in the game. So it's a really bad loss. And I feel like the team, the coaching staff, Josh Allen more than anybody, they really have to do some soul searching to figure out, how do you get that out of him in these matchups against defense that just seem to have his number?
Yeah, Matt, it's a play that didn't cost the Bills the possession, but when you see Josh Allen 7 yards away from the line of scrimmage where there's 2 defenders on him and he's trying to truck it, I'm like, what are you doing? There's nothing to be gained. Obviously, save yourself, and all this talk about what you're trying to do, and here you are, year 6, and it still hasn't clicked. I'm just wondering if this is, I'm just being honest, if this is a mental issue. I would assume he's got a sports psychologist, does he not?
Yeah, it's so strange, and I don't know. I can't speak for his, what's on his personal, who he speaks with, who he talks to. I know the Bills have a sports psychologist that they work with. A couple of players have talked about that over the course of the last few years. But, I also just think it's a situation where when a team plays that well against you and they take away so many different options, his default is to go into this mode where he feels like, okay, I got to get it all back right now. I got to go up right now. I got to make big plays right now. And it's like, that's the kind of stuff that you got to figure out. And it seemed like at times Stephon Diggs was really trying to calm him down and reinforce him and encourage him. And, I don't know. It's troubling because, like, when we've seen him at his best, right, the last time I feel like we really saw Josh Allen at his best, there was good moments last year, don't get me wrong, was that playoff run in 2021. And what's the missing link since then? I mean, Brian Dable going to New York. I mean, I talked about it on our show yesterday. You wonder, Ken Dorsey, when he started this job, it was his first NFL coordinator job. Josh Allen had already been an established MVP candidate type of player, and he's the one that said he wanted Dorsey. And then when that whole arrangement comes into play, like, just the dynamic between Dorsey and Allen, it's more like, peers than it is like mentor-mentee, which I felt like that was the relationship with Dable. He was somebody that really developed Josh Allen, and a lot of the kind of little weird things about his game that he had to kind of work through. Brian Dable helped him with those things. Dorsey too, but it feels like a different dynamic, and it's like now you need an adult in the room, right? Like when your kids are, acting up and not doing what they're told, and I know that's kind of like a weird way to put it, but it's like Sean McDermott has said it, Brandon Beane has said it, even Dorsey has said it at times. He's got to be smarter. It's not even just about the turnovers, guys. It's what you mentioned, Gene. It's like you are putting your body in jeopardy for no good reason, and it's got to stop, and somebody's got to be able to get the message across.
Aside from the mistakes made by the quarterback, did you like what you saw out of the Bills' offense last night? I mean, I know that they've been talking about wanting to run 2 tight end sets for the last 2 years, and it looked like last night the majority of what they were running was 12 personnel, that they were able to get James Cook involved. They were almost forcing Deontay Hardy the ball, but they had a plan to exploit this Jets defense. Save for those turnovers, what would your grade be on the Bills' offense overall?
Yeah, I think I wanted to see a little bit more targets for Dalton Kincaid, to be honest. Like, I thought, the way that they kind of split things up a little bit, 4 targets for Hardy, 4 for Davis, 4 for Knox, 4 for Kincaid. I mean, when Kincaid had the ball in his hands, I felt like it felt different. It felt like there was real possibilities after the catch. And, you go look back at that game, and I haven't had a chance to sit down and rewatch it completely yet, but there were moments where it looked like there was opportunities to get him more involved, and I think that's going to kind of develop over the course of this next couple of weeks. It was his first game. You don't want to, I guess, put too much on a kid early on, and I get that. I thought the run pass, how Ken Dorsey called the game, I was fine with it. There were some opportunities. I mean, if that ball is placed a little bit better to James Cook in the end zone, I mean, that's another touchdown, right? There's a couple plays throughout the game where if Josh Allen doesn't turn the ball over, I mean, who knows if they're not able to kind of stumble into some more consistency, some rhythm, and score some more points. So I thought for the first game, like, listen, next week is an obvious get-right kind of game against the Raiders. It's not a defense that, despite week 1, scares you a lot. I mean, there's going to be chances to score. We know what's going on with that Denver offense over the last, year since Russell Wilson's been there. So I'm not super surprised that they're continuing to kind of sputter along. But I like what I saw. I was actually surprised we didn't see a little bit more Damian Harris. They wanted to run in between the tackles. It seemed like that was something they were trying to do against a team that's really good at not only clogging up holes with active linebackers, but getting really good push with their defensive tackles. And, I thought Harris might have been a little bit more suited for that.
Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard in the Shout podcast. So many plays from this game, and I thought this is one that might get overlooked. In overtime, don't give 5 yards away. Spencer Brown. And it to me, it was just like, all right, that's the exclamation point on what wasn't a good night for the right tackle. Could the Buffalo Bills be looking at making a change at that position, Matt?
I don't know. What are your options? Jermaine Ifedi is a guy that's come in here and couldn't even get a game day jersey yesterday. And I know he's only been around for a little over a week, but I don't know if he's in a situation where you can get him up to speed to even compete for that spot. And listen, even hearing Sean McDermott talk about Brown today, I mean, he said that there were some things that he's been working on that he thought he did well in the game. I'm sure it wasn't all bad, right? We saw the two plays where Mitchell Schwartz, the former Kansas City tackle, was critical of him. But I don't know. I thought that going back to the summer when we spoke, and I think we had this conversation in St. John Fisher, the Bills should have been a little bit more deliberate about bringing in some type of competition. I mean, you go out and you spend, significant money on like a Deontay Hardy. Maybe that money could have been spent with another player to go out and get a competitive piece for Spencer Brown, because really it's one game and you don't want to overreact. And that's important. I've been pretty critical over the last 12 hours, 16 hours, but it is week one. I mean, the Chiefs lost, the Bengals lost. I mean, it hasn't looked good for some of the top offenses out of the gates. There's a lot of opportunity to get better, and I'm not sitting here saying Deontay Hardy 3 for 9 in his first game with the Bills after not a lot of work in the preseason, cut bait. It's not going to work. But I just think that it looked a lot like Isaiah McKenzie, right? Like that stat line, like how hard he played. I think that money, that $4.5 million, could have been spent maybe elsewhere, but the Bills opted to do something else with it.
Matt, last night was the first chance we had to see middle linebacker Terrell Bernard out on the field. And he had a couple of nice plays, but more than anything, I just felt like he was getting completely swallowed up and wasn't able to shed any of the bodies that were being sent to block him. What was your evaluation of Bernard's debut here in his second season? And do you think he's doing enough or will be doing enough here to keep Christian Kirksey on that practice squad, or is it just an inevitability that the veteran at some point enters this defense?
I don't know. I think with the way that the Bills approach the position, and man, they are a little bit all over the place in terms of which positions and which young players they decide to just give the reins to, or loosen the reins, if you will. I mean, you got Terrell Bernard, a guy that didn't play at all in the preseason, really didn't win that competition, that just basically, got handed it when he got back. And Spencer Brown, who has had now plenty of really bad football at times, just continue to hold on to that right tackle job. And then you got a rookie first-round draft pick who you can't even get a jersey to start his second season in Kaiir Elam. And listen, did Christian Benford win that job? Sure. Like, I thought he was good yesterday. I thought he made one of the plays of the game, and I thought in coverage he graded out better according to PFF than Tre'Davious White. But it's just a situation where it's very interesting how they, I don't know if it's like McDermott's guys. Like, I don't know if that, like, Bernard feels like that, doesn't he, a little bit? A guy that I think Sean knew, the Baylor coach, and that was kind of the tip that they got on him. And, every time he talks about him, he talks about how much they trust him. And that's not a word that they've ever used with Kaiir Elam, which is kind of interesting. But I'm not panicking yet about Terrell Bernard. Like, I know that I've seen some people talking about what you're mentioning, not doing great in the run game at times, but not a lot of them were. I mean, Jordan Poyer looked out of position a couple times. I saw Trey White with a couple missed tackles. I think the more reps that he gets, the better evaluation we'll be able to have. And I did like some of the, better plays that he made. He looked much more comfortable yesterday than he did against the Jets last year, which I think is at least improvement. I got to go back and watch the full thing. The full game, but I thought it was an okay baseline start for Bernard. We'll see if he can improve. But it's going to get tougher, too. Like, he got mostly Zach Wilson yesterday, and they weren't even really throwing it to the wide receivers. I think they finished with 7 catches combined as a wide receiving group. There's a lot of good quarterbacks in the schedule.
Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard, is our guest. Before we look ahead here to the Raiders and how the Bills turn this around, let's kind of just address this story here. And like you never want your name associated with something like this. Matt, your thoughts here on this allegation in a lawsuit filed by Jim Trotter against the NFL, and in it, there is a comment that is alleged that Terry Pegula has said. Now, the Bills have come out with a statement where Pegula strongly denies this. Matt, I just hope for Pegula's sake that none of this is true, and I'm just wondering where this kind of goes from here.
For sure. I mean, that's the first thought is like, A, how could you say something like that? And B, if you did say it, to your point, you hope it's not true for so many people's sakes. And it's the kind of situation where, I was driving back from New York, so I haven't really had a chance to completely dive into it. I was reading a little bit of the lawsuit, and, you always got to be careful when you're dealing with, heard it on a call. And I think there was a report from the Buffalo News a little while ago where sources said that there were interviews done with all the parties that were on the alleged call that happened. So, the details are a little bit, I don't want to say vague, but we don't have a lot of details at this point. But it's something that there's one thing I will say, like there was a CBS report that came out during the season last year from the in-season owners meetings where Terry said something. I don't even want to paraphrase it because I have to go back and look at it, but it was something really off-putting then. And, there's been other things. So I don't know. It's just one of those things. Like we haven't talked to Terry Pegula now in, I can't remember the last time we actually had an official press conference with Terry Pegula. I think it was probably the owners meetings in 2019. And, when there's that much time between when you get the chance to talk to the owner of an NFL team, you wonder if it's like by design. Ron Makuya was doing all of the press for the Bills over the last two owners meetings. So, yeah, it's a horrible look to your point, and you hope that he didn't say it, and you wonder what people inside the building think about it.
Matt Perino of the Syracuse Post-Standard joins us in the sports bar as we try to close the book on last night. Look ahead to Sunday. It's the home opener. It's the Raiders. This has, I think you said it earlier, get right written all over it. Any concern here with who the Bills are going to be facing here week 2?
I think Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't get the credit he probably deserves as a really just the opposite of Josh Allen, right? Like you don't get a lot of the highs, but you don't get nearly as many of the lows, and he's going to keep you in games. And, if you can make plays, and they got a good, Josh Jacobs is one of the top running backs in the NFL, and the Bills look like that's an area of potential concern. And it didn't hurt them yesterday, and that's why I haven't really focused too much on it, in terms of coverage and what we talked about in the podcast yesterday, because it didn't cost them points. But we've seen in games in past years where it has. I mean, I think back to that Indianapolis Colts game, that Philadelphia Eagles game. This has been something that's always seemed to rear its head during the Sean McDermott era. So this is a game where if you're not careful and offensively, if you don't get things going and clicking, it could be really interesting. And I don't know. I think the Raiders are in a weird place in that nobody's expecting them to be competitive in that division, but they're sitting there at 1-0, and I'm pretty sure they're the only 1-0 team in that division, which is super interesting going into week 2.
Matt, last one, and nothing to do with the Bills. What is it like to be in the New York metro area on 9/11?
Yeah, that was, to be honest with you, overwhelming. Walking around, we went down there, tried to go over to the memorial area, but they had that closed down in the morning because they were, obviously letting all the, families of the victims kind of celebrate and memorialize them on that morning. But just watching, firefighters gathering, NYPD, and just the emotion on people's faces walking around, just being that close to it. It was, like I said, overwhelming, and glad to be able to kind of go down there. My wife was obviously there, so we spent some time there on Monday morning before I headed over to the stadium in the afternoon.
Matt, give us a little preview of what's coming up this week on Shout.
Yeah, we got our staple show tomorrow. A lot to dig into. We haven't got the Bills media schedule yet. I would imagine tomorrow's media day, because obviously the short week, and Sean McDermott likes to get back on on schedule, but we will see a lot of coverage over the next week for a very important game on Sunday. And don't forget, Saturday night, if you are coming up for the game on Sunday and you want to get a head start on the party, we will be live at Wingnuts, our monthly show there, 6 p.m. Wingnuts, North Buffalo. We had an awesome event in Rochester last time out. We're going to try to bring the fire once again. That is 700 Military Road in North Buffalo.
Yeah, don't make the Geno mistake and go to the Wingnuts there in Amherst. Go to the one in North Buffalo. That would be.
Yeah, we kind of we had a little funny hiccup there. Like we were gonna roll things out at the Amherst location, and there's just been a little bit of a delay. They finalized that at the end of July, and we were hoping to get it done in time for the first pre-home game. It didn't happen, so we'll be back at Froth, which is awesome because they have some of the best beer selections in Western New York, and you can have wings, beer, Bills talk with us.
You and Ryan do a great job, man. Appreciate it as always, Matt. Enjoy the rest of your week. Let's talk again next Tuesday.
Sounds good, boys. Take care.
That's Matt Perino, covering the Buffalo Bills for the Syracuse Post-Standard, the Shout podcast with Ryan Talbot as well. Going to do the live pod coming up this weekend. We're going to be live coming up Friday.
Friday, we are at Three Heads. We invite you to come down. We are out there 3 to 6 doing the sports bar on location where you can share a cold one, maybe a win or two with us here in the sports bar. And again, that's Three Heads Brewing, Atlantic Avenue.
Yes.
We can share a cold one and maybe a win or two.
We've got I'll drink to that on the way next in the sports bar.
Yeah.
Takes on tap.
I've got more blame when it comes to last night. Again, all these hidden yards. It wasn't just all Josh Allen. Like when you lose a game, there are some things, but it's just another point I want to bring up of how the Bills are not playing smart. And some thoughts on Aaron Rodgers here I've got coming up.
Okay. I can't stop thinking about those turnovers last night with Josh Allen. And one of our callers, I think it was Nikki G, last segment said, you're a top 5 quarterback, start acting like it. Well, if you need to act like a top 5 quarterback, guess what? You're not a top 5 quarterback. You're acting like you're trying to be a top 5 quarterback. I would argue that Josh Allen is not even a top 5 quarterback in the AFC. I've got my AFC quarterback power rankings.
AFC East?
AFC.
Okay.
AFC.
All right.
The road to the Super Bowl. It was the AFC Championship. We'll see who we put Josh Allen up against and who's in front of Josh Allen. We'll share those rankings here coming up next with I'll Drink to That in the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia on the Fan. The NFL season is here. Now's the time to get incredible.
Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Bills letting a double-digit lead get away despite the Jets having their backup quarterback opening night going to the Jets in overtime. We'll talk to Mike Catalana. 13 Wham was at the game. Mike coming up later this hour here in the Sports Bar. It is official. Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers has a ruptured Achilles. Rodgers is out for the season. Former Syracuse and Buffalo Bills wide receiver Mike Williams has passed. This according to his agent. Mike Williams was 36. In a lawsuit filed by a former NFL.com employee, Jim Trotter, Buffalo Bills owner Terry Pegula is accused of a racist comment. The Bills have put out a statement strongly denying the allegation. To baseball, the Yankees, they are a game below 500. Right now, they're leading the Red Sox 3-2, bottom of the eighth, game one of a doubleheader. Wings are home tonight against Lehigh Valley. Gene Battaglia in the sports leader, The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Gibson runs under, starts to his left, gets to the 40, turns the corner, at the 45, 50, blockers in front, at the 40, at the Bills 30, inside the 20, stutter steps to the 10, to the 5, touchdown! And it's a Jet touchdown! This game is over!
Picked off on the far sideline by Jordan Whitehead, number 3. Wow!
Yeah, trying to force the ball. Yeah, same place, different day.
Snap is fumbled by Allen, who lunges forward and fumbles the football. It's loose, and the Jets say they have it. And they do!
He can play better. I know he's capable of playing better. He's capable of playing smarter as well, and he's got to do that for us. To, number one, stay healthy, and then number two, to take care of the football.
They played a really good defense last night, and they didn't score enough points to win.
Mike Danger.
Josh Allen's ability to, in the moment, make the right decision. Make better decisions.
Gene Battaglia.
Josh Allen has to know right from wrong. Defenses, stop taking chances that you should.
Number one, protect the football. Protect the football.
Here comes Leonard Floyd for the sack.
Now Rodgers going to go to the ground. He's now laying on his back, and he is injured here.
A morning MRI confirmed the Jets' worst fears. Aaron Rodgers tore his left Achilles tendon on his fourth snap of his debut last night.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Jordan Whitehead with not one, not two, but three Josh Allen interceptions. The Bills fall to the New York Jets last night in the Meadowland. The Fan Rochester's Man on a Mission, brought to you by the Open Door Mission. Go to opendoormission.com to see how you can guarantee a win for someone today.
We have our Week 2 Survive in Advance. I got to summon the energy here, Danger, and look, I'm just sharing this detail about myself because maybe others are the same. I lost sleep last night. I was able to fall asleep, but then kind of turned over and I'm like, oh my gosh, that game. And then realized, okay, it's 4:15 in the morning. I guess I'm awake.
Not me, pal. Me. Dan DeLorean said the same thing when we saw him earlier. He's like, yeah, I didn't fall asleep until like 3:30. I couldn't come down. I was so wound up. I'm like, I was wound up. I couldn't sleep. My mind was racing. It's the kind of game. And if you're a Jets fan, and Peter was tweeting us all night. Peter's one of our regulars who's a big Jets fan. I mean, what a ride. What a roller coaster of emotions for the game to end the way it did after it started the way that it started. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I think the Jets are a playoff team. I don't know that they are. I'm not going to tell you that Zach Wilson is a suitable replacement for Aaron Rodgers. I don't think he is. But at least for one night, you got over. You got over big on the Buffalo Bills. And Bills should be embarrassed. Take it personally.
You went from having the Jet fan flipping off the camera.
Yeah, they were mad. They were upset. All right, Gino, call your shot here at the line of scrimmage. You want to go to the phones?
Let's go to the phones here because we want to. Today is about you. You are in the sports bar. I'll get to my pick. We'll get to some other stuff here in the sports bar.
We got some takes on tap coming up.
We got takes, and we've got Mike Catalana, 13 Wham, coming up as well. Tom in Rochester joining us. Hey, Tom, what's up, buddy?
Guys, love the show as always. You know, so much to talk about. Obviously, the Josh Allen debacle, the poor decision making, and so forth. But I've called the show before, and look, at some point too, part of this equation is coaching. 49 dropbacks in that game, and you got a lead. 49. I mean, at some point, the stats don't lie. I mean, in one of the morning shows, I think it was ESPN, they talked about Josh Allen's record when he gets to 50 dropbacks. He's only got 2 wins. And, again, I'm not letting him off the hook at all, okay? But at some point, I just don't think, and I've called before, is McDermott got his eyes on the offense? Did he kind of see what was unfolding out there? Did he have any input on, guys, what are we doing here? Okay, we got a lead. They got their Hall of Fame quarterback is out of the game. I don't know. I just think that coaching played into it last night for sure.
Yeah, Tom, I agree with you. And when we're doing it, I put it straight down the middle, 50-50. And the reasons Josh Allen's making those mistakes, obviously as a coach, you're not getting through to him. Okay, so what is it you got to get through? But beside that, and you bring up a good point, you're up by 10 points. That's the time where okay, this was the plan going in. Now let's even try to shorten the game a little bit more. I thought that was kind of a focus of the offseason, switching from Devin Singletary over to James Cook. And Matt Perino brought it up. Why not more Damian Harris? Why was it we didn't see more of the running game last night?
Yeah, if you really kind of start picking it all apart, and I think it starts last night specifically, it starts with the turnovers. It starts with Josh Allen's decision-making. And then you go down the hole a little bit deeper, and you're like, well, Ken Dorsey, that's the offensive coordinator, the guy that Josh Allen picked to be in that situation. Well, if Ken Dorsey was indeed the best player for the job, or the best coach for that opening, then why are we having these discussions right now? I know that the offense was good last season, Ken Dorsey's first, but it's the arrogance of McDermott, the hubris, the arrogance of the organization, really. We know our guys. We have our guys. We know who we like. We know the kind of person we have. And there were probably better people out there that could actually get through to Josh Allen. The idea that you have Josh Allen's buddy, basically, as his offensive coordinator is a problem. That's a problem. And you allowed it, Sean McDermott, Brandon Beane. You allowed it. This is the culture that you allow within your organization. You could have brought in a hard ass. I mean, do you think Ken Dorsey's having more tough discussions with Josh Allen today? I'm sure that those discussions are not pleasant. I'm sure Sean McDermott yelling at Josh Allen to be smart last night on the sideline. You saw that, right?
Yeah.
Slide, dude. Be smart. Slide. You're not getting the first down. What are you doing trying to jump over people? Get down. Slide. Play smart.
Well, what happened to the Jets and their quarterback, that's unfortunate. The whammy is going to come up here at some point. Remember the whammy?
Oh, press your luck.
Yes, exactly. The whammy is going to hit Josh Allen at some point, and then we're talking about the draft before we know it. While we get some takes here, while we're serving up some blame pie, can I give a sliver to someone unexpected here at Danger? Because it's just one play that shows me this Bills team overall is just not playing smart football. Yeah. Matt Milano, you deserve some blame. Gene, what are you talking about? Did you see the sack? Did you see the interception? Yep, I saw that interception. I also saw a 15-yard penalty for taunting after. So instead of getting the ball at the 35, it's now at the 50. Now, I don't know for sure if the Bills punched that in starting at the 35, but I know that they didn't. Okay, instead you settled for a field goal. That's a big difference. You could have been up by 2 full touchdowns of that. Look, it was the dumbest Bills performance in years. Allen, number one, coaches. But I just want to point out there were other dumb plays in this game, too.
That was a dumb play, but at the time that it happened, I kind of liked it. Matt Milano just owns the Jets. Do you remember when he eviscerated Mike White?
Yeah.
I mean, the guy just owns the Jets. So I didn't look. I'm for them being disciplined, and I shouldn't say this, but I didn't mind the penalty there.
Well, you got it. I just want to point that out because at that point, you're thinking the Bills are winning this game. Okay, Zach Wilson turning the ball over, punch it in, route is on.
I was a little concerned by Trey White not being as physical as I think we remember Trey White, and I saw it last season. I was worried that it was going to bleed into this season. Missed tackles. Not really attacking, physically attacking. Boy, that Garrett Wilson touchdown was spectacular. I mean, that might be the best catch of the season in week 1. that was something. And in that instance, like, okay, Trey can still hang. But there were a couple of instances where I was worried about Trey White, where I was worried about his physical play. It started last season when he came back, and it didn't really see it improve too much last night either. I can't stop thinking about the turnovers, Gene. And the more, like, the film will not be kind to Josh Allen's Week 1 performance.
They just showed up on ESPN the Davis interception. Watch this when you get home tonight or on your phone. Just look it up. Diggs is wide open for the first down. There's a player in the flat, wide open for the first down.
Yeah. All right, so now I'm starting to question Josh Allen's standing amongst other AFC quarterbacks. I mean, it wasn't long ago we considered him an MVP candidate. We know that the talent is there, but these decisions, these mistakes, these turnovers, I'm sorry, I can't put him in the top 5 in the AFC. I know the talent is there. I know the talent is there. It's not about talent. It's the whole package. I know you've got the biggest arm in the great. You've got a great arm. You can make every throw. Let's start at the worst to first. All right? I'm going C.J. Stroud at 16, Texans. Did you watch any of Ryan Tannehill?
I'm surprised you just didn't put him last. Yeah. At least you give C.J. Stroud. He has a reason that he's bad. Yeah.
I think that this is where they're at right now, to my eyes, right now. I'm not saying body of work. I'm saying right now. Ryan Tannehill's at 15. Zach Wilson of the Jets at 14. Kenny Pickett at 13. He didn't look good against the Niners. Mac Jones at 12.
Sucks.
Anthony Richardson in Indy. I'm going to put him at 11.
Ooh.
Right in front of him, let's ride.
Perfect.
Russell Wilson at number 10. Jimmy G at number 9. And I would listen to those two interchanging, by the way. You could put Jimmy G at 10, Russell at 9. I would listen to that. I have Deshaun Watson at number 8. I have Josh Allen at number 7. Here are the quarterbacks that right now I think are better than Josh Allen in the AFC. Trevor Lawrence, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson. This one hurts. It's going to hurt me to say this. Tua, Burrow, and Mahomes. Right now, better quarterbacks. More consistent play than what 17 is giving you.
We got to look back to Josh Allen's recent games, like the Cincinnati playoff game, a stink bomb. You needed everything and then some to beat Skylar Thompson and the Dolphins in the playoffs. If you had Tua in that game, the Bills lose that game.
I talked to a casual Bills fan today. We're pretty hardcore, right? Like if you're calling us up and you're talking to us about last night's game, we're talking about 12 personnel, we're talking about breaking down the film, or we're talking about how, who was open in the flat. I talked to the most casual of Bills fans, one of my friends in Buffalo, and she said to me, he needs to stop filming commercials and start focusing on football again. And I know that that's so simplistic, but those distractions and everything that, ever since he became a quote-unquote star, his play has declined. The stage might be too big for him. It just might be too big for him. He's not there. There are 6 quarterbacks better than him in the AFC right now.
Yeah, this tweet from Tim Graham. These are people that are, so somebody casual Bills.
Tim Graham of The Athletic.
Yeah, Tim Graham of The Athletic. Josh Allen is every third commercial these days. After declaring to be more focused than ever on football, he needs to play as advertised. I see what you did there, Tim.
So, yeah, I'm being critical. But right now, you can't tell me that he's more consistent than those other names that I gave you. Tua looked fantastic week 1.
Mm-hmm.
Burrow's going to be fine. Mahomes is going to be fine. Lamar, I'm not worried about Lamar. I'm worried about Josh Allen, and you should be too. Too many turnovers, too many poor decisions. Disgusting.
We've got Mike Catalana coming up here in a little bit. I got to get to my Survive in advance. If you're on hold, just hang there because a lot of people want to talk today. So Was that it for Aaron Rodgers in New York City? Like honestly, like you're not even going to get a full half of football.
4 plays, Gino. 4 plays. I mean, if you're a Jets fan, and I can't blame. Normally, I would say if you walk around, go, oh, we're cursed. Oh boy, we're language of losers. Don't want to hear it. Don't want to hear it. Your owner is walking around with 1990s bling on, and he has no business. Like I see that image of Woody Johnson, and all I say to myself is, well, shocking that they're a dysfunctional organization, given that he's the guy calling the shots. Look at how he's presenting.
Yeah.
Ridiculous, right? The idea, I'm stunned.
Yeah. Is Aaron done there? Only if he's walking away. Certainly, the Jets won't. $66 million is the dead cap figure, whether he retires or like the Achilles injury in football. I think that's the one you cannot recover from, especially at that age. Dan Marino came back, never the same.
Yeah.
Vinny came back, never the same. Takeo Spikes was a bad man before that injury.
Yep.
After he was just an average guy. Sam Coward, another name, bad man, and then he was washed after. I bet this isn't the way you hoped or dreamed that Rodgers' career was going to end, Mike Danger.
I'll never wish injury on anybody, but I'm not going to lie. I didn't really have any sympathy for Aaron Rodgers as they were carting him off the field. I'm not wishing for injury, and it's better for the NFL when Aaron Rodgers is playing. I want Aaron Rodgers on the field, but I didn't feel a shred of sympathy for the injury. I'm not wishing that on him. It was a former Bear that got him too, by the way, Leonard Floyd. I'm just going to point that out. Former first-round draft pick of the Bears, Leonard Floyd. Yeah, terrible. It's a terrible injury, and I doubt that he's remotely close to the player he was when he comes back from that injury.
Got my pick here.
Are we ready?
This is tough this week.
Okay. It's time for Gino's Survive in Advance.
Yeah.
Survivor football.
Yeah, in Survivor football, of course, this is the game where you only get to pick one game per week. And the beauty of this is you're done. You cannot misstep, okay? It's like Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom when you're going to take a little step. Oh, no, you're going to fall down. No, we've got to get you to that next step. And I'm becoming a lover of the Baltimore Ravens. That's the third time we picked since we've done the show, Danger.
They
Ravens
don't lose week one.
No, they don't.
They don't lose
They
week
are
one.
just as safe as can be. So we were as safe and playful as a kitten week one. Now things start to get interesting. Now let's kind of review the rules I came up with. We don't want a road team. We don't want a divisional game. The Vegas line is our guide. You must be giving at least 5 points. No savers. Savers are losers.
Correct.
Hedgers are losers, meaning, I'm going to, play 4 different... No.
You make 4 different picks in every pool.
One pick for one pool.
Got it.
Bad defenses equal bad plays.
Now, after 1 week, can you identify the bad defenses in the NFL?
Not exactly, although the Chargers give me pause for concern.
Aha.
Chargers just a little bit. Avoid the team that's playing for home on the second consecutive week. Not really concerned here. No shame in picking against the bad team week after week. After all, we're just trying to advance. And no kill shot. Don't override the logic. How many people, I know a lot of people are taking Baltimore or taking Washington. I'm going to take Seattle. No, now you're out. Don't overthink this. So we cannot, by rule, choose Baltimore again. Not that we would. Cincinnati's -3.5 against the Ravens. That's kind of interesting, right, too, that the Bengals would be giving points. Other games we don't want this week because they're divisional. Houston giving 1 point at home against the Colts. We have Miami 2.5-point favorites against the Patriots. Niners giving 7 against the Rams.
Divisional game.
Cross it off, Mike Danger. I don't want any part of it. We have better options this week.
Okay.
And I almost forgot. We got a doubleheader on Monday Night Football.
I love that they're not talking at all about the first game, and really the second game is the one that's getting all the shine. Cleveland-Pittsburgh is a nice Monday Night Football game, but then before that you have New Orleans, Carolina.
Yeah. I guess we'll watch because it's on.
Yeah.
No, we don't want out of those games. Cross any home favorite less than 5 points. Did you know the Buccaneers are actually favored this week? The lowly Tampa Bay, well, because they're playing the Bears.
That's right.
We don't want that. Denver is up by 3 over Washington. Don't want that. Eliminate road favorites. And, not eliminate the Chargers, too, because I'm not trust their defense. The Chargers favored by 3 in Nashville. No. Kansas City, a 2.5-point favorite in Jacksonville. No. And the Giants, do we think, are the Giants a good team?
They don't look like it.
No, they're 4.5 favorites in Arizona. Cross that off. So, process of elimination now gets interesting. Leaves us with 4 choices. Lions favorite at home by 5.5 over Seattle. The Bills 9-point favorites against the Raiders.
9 times.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Did I go to 8.5 in some places? I think it did. Dallas favored by 7.5 over the Jets. Interesting, right? And the Eagles Thursday Night Football against the Vikings. Eagles are favored by 7. Vikings, terrible loss there. First one I'm going to cross off here, Danger. It's actually Thursday Night Football. As much as I would love to just kind of relax and not have any sweats on Sunday, we've done that a couple of times where we pick the Thursday night game.
Right. Thursday night's kind of a wild card, right? Because it's a short week. You're not as prepared. And plus with these two teams, look, the Vikings didn't look good against the Bucs. Eagles had some moments against New England as well. Like, I don't know what you're getting out of these two teams on Thursday night.
If the Eagles are playing a real quarterback, they would have lost that game. So maybe the Eagles bounce back, but I'm too risky. We've got better options. It's funny, Dan Campbell, have you seen his comments? He wants the stadium there, Ford Field, as loud as Arrowhead, so he's trying to get everybody riled up. Do we trust the Lions with the extra time? The answer, no, we don't. Cross that off. That was a wild game last year, too, Seattle putting up points. Which, how ironic is this? Do we want to pick against the Jets, a team that won last night? Or are we going to go all in a team that looked like crap last night, the Buffalo Bills? Dallas. Dak Prescott. Week 2 against the Jets. The Raiders.
Coming into Buffalo.
They're coming off a win, too.
By the way, the Bills are the biggest favorite on the board for the week, right?
They are.
Even after that ugly loss last night.
Maybe that changes. All right. Let me kind of do this in reverse order. Who's got the better defense here amongst the teams we would be picking against? Is it the Raiders or the Jets?
The Jets have a better defense.
This is where normally I summons the energy and get all excited about the pick. And as crazy as it sounds, and I'm crazy.
Don't plug your nose. You're going to plug your nose.
Plug your nose. Yeah. It's going to be Buffalo week 2. The Bills will bounce back. They're not that bad. And it's a pick against the Raiders as much as anything else. And honestly, when you look at the Jets going down to Dallas, that wouldn't surprise me either because Dallas is not a team to be trusted. Buffalo bounces back. That is your week 2 pick. Book it now. Thank me Monday.
Gene Battaglia. I need some time. I'm not ready yet to make that pick. I need some time. I know what Vegas is saying, and I know what our rules are, and I know that that's our guide. But, man, after what we saw last night, I'm not just yet ready to say, yeah, Buffalo's going to walk all over. It feels like that's a get-right spot. It feels like it. And we know what happens when something feels like it. It never works out the way we want it to. I almost have more faith the Eagles can get it done against the Vikings right now. I'm not making my pick yet. I don't know where I'm going yet.
So you don't know if I'm on board. You're on board.
I'm not exactly sure yet. I have to really do some soul searching here. Likelihood as the week goes on and we kind of let the stink of last night fade away.
That's why picking this on Tuesday.
It's
just
hard.
Like,
it's not. It's stinky. It doesn't feel right right now. I give you credit for doing it. You have conviction in this pick. I can't make that pick with conviction right now. I need a little bit more time. We got Mike Catalana standing by.
We do. We have Mike Catalana. Quickly, Chris in Holden here from South Central Kentucky. What's up, Chris?
What up, Chris?
Oh, last night. Yeah, the thing that got me about last night was exactly just how it ended. I think it was Aikman that said, there are no flags on the field as it's being run back. I live here in Titans territory. I hear that call every year.
No, Chris, please, no. I know you're talking about the leg whip.
No.
Okay.
No, the run back itself. Call back to the Music City Miracle.
Okay, gotcha.
Home
Okay.
run throw forward. Yeah, I hear those words coming out of Mike Keith, the Titans announcer, every year when they regale, they relive that memory. No, I wasn't talking about the leg whip, but I just hope that week one turns out to be the liar that it historically has turned out to be. And that what we saw of mostly first half of Josh Allen, where he was making quick decisions, he was making good decisions up until that interception in the first half. I thought he had learned his lesson. I mean, it was looking good. They were moving the ball. They were steadily moving the ball, getting 4, 5, 6 yards a clip. It was looking great. And the whole gambit of the Josh Allen experience showed up in that game. And I'm just hoping that week one turns out to be the liar that we all know that it can be.
Appreciate the call, Chris. Yeah, maybe it's an aberration or maybe it's the continuation of a trend that we saw towards the end of last year. Either way, it's eye-opening. It's alarming. We'll get Mike Catalana from 13WM Sports, BuffaloPlus.com next in the Sports Bar to talk more about last night's win and start to look ahead to Sunday's home opener against the Raiders. Gene, who's in hot water?
Yeah, who's in hot water? Can I just go with the Bills coaching staff? Is that acceptable here?
We'll take it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you got to win this week. Or else, can you imagine this team starting 0-2? You can see how good hot water can be at Ace Swim and Leisure. This is the good hot water, though. They're talking about the bad hot water. The good hot water is at Ace Swim. They've been serving Rochester area families since 1962. It isn't as cool. It isn't as often as something cool and different comes along as the new jacuzzi swim spots. Right size at the right price. The pool spa combo that gives you a pro-grade water workout and therapeutic water massage. You can see it for yourself at Ace Swim and Leisure's Chilai Avenue store today or aceswim.com.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your favorite teams from across the country and get the inside scoop from experts. AUDACY. Odyssey.
What's the one place in Rochester to go?
Bills losing a stunner where they had a 10-point lead against a backup quarterback. Back to work, Buffalo goes. Practice tomorrow. We'll talk to 13 Wham's Mike Catalana and Buffalo Plus coming up next year in the Sports Bar. Meanwhile, down in New York, it is official. Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers has a ruptured Achilles. Rodgers is out for the season. Former Buffalo Bills and Syracuse University wide receiver Mike Williams has passed. This according to his agent. Mike Williams was 36. And a lawsuit filed by a former NFL.com employee named Jim Trotter. Bills owner Terry Pegula is accused of making a racist comment. The Bills have put out a statement strongly denying the allegation. Yankees taking on the Red Sox. It's game one of the doubleheader. Yankees winning this one 3-2. Final homestand for the Red Wings begins tonight. Lehigh Valley, the opponent. Gene Battaglia and the sports leader, the Fan, Rochester.
Pull up a stool and join us. 585-866-4FAN. 866-4326. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
We've got to learn from this. It is, like I've told you guys, it's one game, but we have to learn fast because it's a short week in particular. Get their bodies back and their minds back, ready to go at home this week against a good football team, and but we've got to learn from this. We talk about it a lot, and it's hard to win in this league when you turn the ball over 4 times.
We're gonna talk to Mike Catalana here, 13 Web Sports, BuffaloPlus.com. Mike, you're a Philly guy. You lived through Andy Reid's time in Philadelphia. I just heard Andy Reid in that soundbite by Sean McDermott, and it feels like the message, it certainly feels like it's wearing a little bit thin. Do you think it's worn thin on the players in that locker room, specifically Josh Allen, when we see him make the same mistakes over and over again?
Well, let's start with this. I think Andy Reid's one of the all-time great coaches, and I think he might be the best coach in the NFL right now because he is a measured guy. And you can say it wears thin, but I thought that was a very different tone out of Sean McDermott last night. I think he's fed up with Josh Allen's mistakes. I think it's easy to blame everybody else. When Josh took the blame last night, sometimes he takes the blame, and it's Josh being the good old soldier quarterback. He took the blame last night because he did lose the game for them. And you can tell in Sean's voice there, he wasn't angry. I think he's a bit exasperated with his quarterback. And I take it the other way. I think the players are going to get tired of hearing Josh say that and make the mistakes like he did last night. I'm not saying they're giving up on Josh. There was full support in that locker room. But he cost them the game. We can blame Dorsey. I don't know if he knows what he's doing. You can blame the O-line. Don't know if they're good enough. You can blame the secondary receivers. When your quarterback gives the ball up like that, you cannot win. And some of those were unforced errors. And I'm taking it the other way. I think they're tired of hearing it from Josh, and he's got to learn from it.
Well, Mike, I'm looking at, and I don't know if you were at the game, the monitor showing Josh on the sideline after the Jets go ahead, and he's glazed. I'm not saying he's crying, but he's just like it's the million-mile stare he's got. And Diggs actually has to come over and try to rile him up. You're getting the ball back with a chance to win the game. Now, as it turns out, they kick the field goal. They go to overtime. For as bad as everything went, you still had a chance to win that game. Mike, my question is, should we be concerned about the mental state of Josh Allen? Because he says one thing. He has told us repeatedly he knows he has to protect himself. He knows he can't be making something, but yet he goes out and does it. And I'm just wondering, is there a problem upstairs here?
Well, look, Sean McDermott was asked about the confidence. Is he worried about it? He said, yeah, I'm worried about any player. But, even Josh, as confident as he is, you can get rattled a little bit. I will say this. He never mentioned it. I was looking back at some of the game, and he took a big hit and definitely hit his head late in that game. And it was right before his interception that he threw towards Diggs, and right after that was the fumble. Not saying that was the reason he made those mistakes. I'm saying it might be the reason why he looked a little glazed over. I saw him after the game. I was in the press room. I saw him standing. I was actually standing in his locker area while we were interviewing Jordan Poyer.
And I could tell Josh was trying to get back to his locker, and he just looked distant. Now, I'm not saying he has a head injury. I'm saying there's a lot of things going on. By the way, you also mentioned Diggs. Dan Fates was telling me Diggs was the guy the whole game keeping everybody fired up.
Yep.
Chins up. He kept telling them he was on them. Diggs was great, as he usually is. He was the offense there. But I'm saying this with Josh. It's like, he is still a great player, and he will snap out of this at whatever point. But he's got to look inward here a little bit, because it's always been we blame the other people. We blame, when Daboll leaves. And Daboll used to get blamed because everybody loves Josh, right? And you blame the line. You blame Dorsey. You blame this. I wonder at what point it's like, come on, Josh, like, we need your help here. Not asking you to be special, just not asking you to be that Josh anymore.
Yeah. I wonder, Mike, just, like how it's getting drilled into his head. And you saw McDermott on the sideline kind of pointing to his head, telling Josh, play smart, be smart. The messaging that he's getting fed a steady diet of protect your body, don't take the unnecessary hits, take what the defense is giving you. He knows he can make every throw on the field. Do you think it is that mental thing that there's, however they're coaching him, that they need to kind of reevaluate how they're getting through to him and what messaging they're feeding him?
100%. And we talked about it. We had a separate version of the Buffalo Plus podcast driving home with Jenna, Dan, and myself, just talking about all these things. And Dan was suggesting, like, hey, maybe Dorsey needs to come downstairs and be on the sidelines or do something different. Maybe it's the case of being with him. Daboll went back and forth a little on what he did initially. Keep in mind, when Brian Daboll got Josh, he was that mound of clay, and they were up and down, but he built that trust. But he got the Josh Allen that was out of Wyoming trying to figure out how to be in the NFL. I mean, Ken Dorsey inherited a Josh Allen that was already a star, had already had tons of success. There's a lot going on for Josh. He's a different player. He's maintained who he is. I don't think he's changed with his teammates, but, dealing with him in a certain way. You mentioned this. Look, I can get it sometimes when you want to make a pass. But it wasn't last night. It wasn't like he's trying to squeeze it in this spot between three players. He's kind of throwing it up for grabs. You mentioned protecting his body. Guys, he's 3rd and 17. He's trying to run over a linebacker. That's just idiotic. You take too many hits. And there's times the protection breaks down. I'm not saying he's got to fall on the ground like Eli, but there are times you don't have to stand there and just take the pounding. It's not smart. And I'll equate this to a golf swing, right? You can go practice. You can take lessons. You can go on the range and you're like, I'm feeling good. And then when the time comes, you get out there, you usually revert back to who you are, unless you really work at it.
Yeah.
When it's going live, Josh reverts back to being Josh, good and bad.
Yeah.
But the bad part is coming out too much.
Yeah, no doubt. 13 Wham Buffalo Plus as well. Mike Catalana, our guest. And Mike, you might have seen the Netflix series Quarterback, and it's insightful. Yeah. And Kirk Cousins, okay, I do not put on Josh Allen's level, but they're showing Cousins meeting with a sports psychologist regularly. And I'm just wondering, is that part of Josh's team? Like, what more can what more can Dorsey say, or can Sean McDermott say? Honestly, I'm just thinking, can there be more help in that regard for the mental aspect of the game?
Yeah, and it maybe is a sports psychologist. I don't think, it's like with Josh, he's not, in some guys, they're blocked, they're afraid. They're afraid to be great. That's not Josh's problem. Like, we're trying to look at him and say, would you want to maybe just think of time and circumstance and be the smarter quarterback? Look at what you're going to see this week. You're going to see the 180 from Josh and Jimmy G. Do you want that kind of guy? No. He's a nice player, but you need a guy who can make those plays. But you would think after 6 years in the league, regardless of who your coach is, you would know that you cannot do this. And when Josh said to us last night, this is eerily reminiscent of last year, that is really something, because we went the whole off season. We heard about this dedication. We heard about what he was going to try to do. And then the minute it starts to go the wrong way, we see that Josh come out. And like I said, the most dangerous throw he made was the one he completed to Gabe Davis. It was between like three guys. Now, that would be where you have your arm arrogance and you think you can make the play. I don't understand what he was doing on any of the interceptions. I really don't. I mean, you throw deep to Deontay Hardy with coverage. I can get with Diggs. I'd take any chance with Diggs. I'd throw the ball 20 times a game to Diggs. But the other throw to Gabe was a terrible decision. The defender's right there. That play wasn't going to work. So, honestly, you're right. Whatever they're saying is not getting through. But I do tell you this. I have a feeling if there's going to be a tipping point, this may be it. It might be the kind of thing like you talk to your kids sometimes and you're like, I used to say to my daughter, your way is not working. And it takes to a certain point, especially when they're teenagers, and you guys know, and then all of a sudden something triggers in them and they start to think differently. And I wonder if Josh, national TV, really embarrassing. I'm sure I don't have to watch the Yahoos around the country. I'm sure he's getting ripped. But he deserves it for last night.
Yeah.
He does. And I think maybe walking in that locker room, looking at his teammates, who, look, there was a lot of mistakes last night, but they still should have won the game. I think he should be a little, honestly, embarrassed by the way he played.
Mike, what was your evaluation of the rest of the offense? Bad Josh aside, I mean, they ran a lot of 12 personnel, which is something we know they've wanted to do more of here for the last two seasons with Dorsey as the OC. It felt like Cook was involved and had some nice plays. You got a lot of plays out to the edge and the boundary with Hardy and some of the speed out there. What was your takeaway about the Bills' offense performance aside from the horrible mistakes by Josh Allen?
Look, I like the idea of some of it. I like getting Kincaid on the field. It is the first game. Some of this stuff, honestly, if they'd have won the game, 20-13, and you're like, it wasn't great, whatever, you would have been able to reasonably look at that. I like when we'd say, takes the cheese a little bit, dump it off to, Cook, dump it off to Hardy. Like, don't always look for that. You got to get Gabe Davis more involved. I'd have to really look at it to see how much he might have been free or open. I know there's one play, Josh mentioned it last night, where he had Diggs over the middle, and he ended up throwing that pick. I like the idea of it. I'm not going to too much judgment on it. They did drastically go from never in 12 personnel to making that their offense. But it's hard to say in one game against a good defense that it's going to be good or bad. I think this is the way they're going. I think Kincaid is one of their best pass catchers, and he will be. It was his first game in the NFL. So I like the idea of it. The execution, maybe not there. But I can tell you what usually messes up execution of a team's offense is having Spencer Brown as your right tackle because he gets worked in a game. And I think Josh always has stuck up for his players. But you can tell, he bails too early on plays. I think it's a little bit of I don't think he still does not have faith on that side of the ball, does not have faith on that side. And, Osiris seemed to be okay, but, you're going up against studs, on their defensive line. But they don't trust him. They really don't. And so quarterbacks tend to bail early with a lack of trust. And I think that's still the case on the offensive line. So I saw some little things that I liked, but it's got to be more than Diggs at the wide receiver position. Some of that's probably on Gabe, but some of that's on Josh, and some of that's on time to throw.
On Spencer Brown, and like he's getting worked. And also, that penalty in overtime doesn't exactly help when you're starting off 1st and 15 and you go 3 and out. Mike, they don't have another option, do they?
No, not at the moment, but I got to tell you, I think that's where he's going to be looking. And, we were, again, this was another part of our unscheduled podcast driving home, but we were talking about, when you got a guy like Kair Elam who's not even dressing for the game, that sends a message, right? Last year, the message week 1, and he's a rookie, but the other rookie is starting. But he still played a lot. This year, the message is you're not getting a uniform for the first game. You were the number 1 pick last year. I don't know in terms of assets that Dean has to deal with, but he does have substantial draft capital next year. I think, honestly, you have to be looking. You got to be looking at one of these teams in early October that is going to be out of it soon and you got to be looking to try to steal a veteran offensive lineman from them or make a deal, even if you give up a little bit more. I don't think they're getting out of Spencer Brown what they thought they were going to get when they drafted him. Now, they'll tell you otherwise. They try to stick up for their own guys, and I get it, but I just don't see it. I think they got to look there, and I'm not overreacting to week one. I say this every don't overreact to one game. But Spencer Brown's been a problem. He was a problem when he was healthy last year and playing, and then he got nicked up, and then he had to, he's trying to rehab all the time, and now he's back, and he seems to be healthy. So this has been an issue. Josh's decision-making has been an issue. These are not 2023 problems. They've just extended from 2022.
Terrell Bernard gets the start, and it was our first chance seeing him this season. There was a couple of plays that he made, but I also saw a lot of plays where he was just getting completely swallowed up by blocks just way too many times. Did he do enough, in your opinion, to stave off a Christian Kirksey activation from the practice squad at some point here?
Yeah, they might. Honestly, I know they like Bernard. I know McDermott likes him. I like his athleticism. I think his instincts are good. I think he's staying in there. I don't, maybe we'll be wrong. Maybe that when they look at the tape, they see things they didn't like. They started him. Now, look, Kirksey is just trying to get, he's got experience with this type of defense, but he hasn't been there that long. That could be down the line. We'll see. But honestly, I don't think they're ready to pull the plug early on Bernard. I think they want him to be the guy. Doesn't mean they won't, 2-3 weeks from now, they're like, okay, this isn't working. We got to give him get him out of there and get the veteran help in there. But I thought he was okay, but definitely he wasn't the only one in the run game, by the way. A lot of missed tackles. Corners got to make plays. Safeties. Jordan Poyer, not a strong game. Trey White missing tackles. There were some other things. Honestly, on the plus side, I thought Floyd and Rousseau were really good. I thought they made plays, got pressure. Rousseau made a great play on the sidelines, just cut off the angle and then knocked the ball loose. Floyd was impactful in the pass rush game. That part at least was pretty good. I know the Jets don't have a good offensive line, but that at least we saw a pass rush. We saw some effort and good effort there. And I love the play by Benford. That kid flying down the field to save 4 points right there, where it ended up being a field goal. They needed that. But, look, Bernard hasn't played. Bernard hasn't played, and he was out there. I think he's starting again on Sunday.
Mike Catalana, 13 Wham. Mike, before we get your thoughts on Bills Raiders and what's coming up here, we have this story, this lawsuit from Jim Trotter, former NFL employee, who's now with The Athletic, we should mention. And there's a terrible allegation, something that is being alleged that Terry Pagula said. I'm not going to say it on the air because it's just an allegation, but it's in a lawsuit. Mike, where does this go from here? And for everybody's sake, I'm hoping this is not true.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, I have no indication one way or the other what is true or is not. I would say this, that Jim Trotter is in a lawsuit. He's taking the information that's available to him. I'm sure he's believing what has been alleged there. I mean, this is part of his lawsuit. I can't tell you one way or the other anything. I would have not thought that, but look, we're around Terry Pagula, but I haven't spoken to him in several years. I haven't interviewed him I don't even remember the last time. He's not been very public that way. So, I see the person, but we really don't talk to him. So to pretend any of us know what someone would or would not do, I would say those are pretty substantial allegations and horrendous. That's not one of those things that somebody needs to parse one way or the other. The allegation is horrendous, but I don't know. I have no knowledge of it, but it is part of a lawsuit, so part of me keeps that in mind. As someone who's suing the NFL is going to take whatever information they have been given or been able to obtain. So in the locker room, those are not great things to come out. I mean, right? And players' eyes are open and they see things. You remember even back when Josh when those tweets came out about Josh back before he was drafted. I remember talking to Lorenzo Alexander. He's like, yeah, guys see stuff, and then people have to prove something. I think at least people's eyes are open and the people in the building, but I would say when I saw this today, I was taken aback, but I don't pretend to know everything about the ownership of the Bills outside of what has been open to us when we've gotten a chance to talk to them.
Mike, win or lose against the Jets, when we looked at the schedule and was released earlier this year, I think we all saw the Raiders and penciled in a W in week 2 for the home opener. Is this as good of a get-right game as the Bills could have hoped for after a disappointing loss?
Well, let's start with this. It's got to be a win. And if it's all get right, that would be good. In you know what I'm saying is like in terms of how they look and what they do. Even last night, it is week 1, and there's some weird things in week 1. You could accept some week 1 things, but you still got to find a way to win the game. So while it would be great to see them come out, load up, defense plays better, though Jacobs is going to challenge the run defense. Devontae Adams still makes plays, but you got to do that and get Josh going, get him back on the right track, reduce the mistakes, figure out a way to win. Raiders or whoever you're playing, right? You got the Raiders and then you got Washington after that. These are games. You are the better team. You should win, but you can't take anything for granted. So, yes, it would be great to get right. And I know what you're talking about, and I think that feeling would at least calm everybody down a little bit. But you got to figure out how to win the game. This team has gone through some changes, and in the big picture, like I said, picture that they would have won that game in overtime, kicked the field goal. We'd still be talking about a lot of this, but they'd be from the perspective of 1-0. When it's 0-1, and I don't even fall too much into that 0-2, who makes the playoffs, because it's 17 games. Look at Jacksonville came back last year. A lot of teams can do that. That's not what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned that they would start out losing at home to the Raiders coming off a loss. That would not be a good look at all for the franchise.
So, Mike, what's coming up tonight on 13 Wham? And did you actually record that podcast for him in the car ride back?
No, I would say it would have been entertaining. In fact, Dan joked at one point, I'm recording all of this. So, no, it wasn't recorded. But we did record our post-game thoughts for it. We'll have our podcast out later this week. I'll be talking to reporters in Las Vegas this week on what they're seeing from their Raiders. Undefeated Raiders coming into Orchard Park this week. So, and Rochester has a sneaky amount of Raiders fans around. There's a group, and they got to be feeling it a little bit coming into Orchard Park to get to see their team. So that should be fun. But we're loaded up with content. We had some good stuff, and I will tell you guys this, and you're probably hearing it too. In many cases with Bills fans, when we are critical of Josh Allen, a lot of fans don't want to hear it. Mm-hmm. It's always somebody else's fault, or this isn't right, or that has not been the case today. I mean, at least from our experience, like a lot of people are, some people go overboard. I had a guy last night asking me why they didn't bench him during the game. I'm like, come on, like that's not going to happen. But I think people are looking at this going, come on, Josh, you got to do better. And let's see how self-aware he is coming into week number 2. Sounds like the honeymoon is over. We now want to see some wins. Mike, appreciate the time. As always, enjoy the rest of your week. Let's do it again soon. All right, let's go Mets.
Wow. You didn't need to do that.
A little parting shot for you there, Gino. 13 Wham Sports Director, BuffaloPlus.com. Mike Catalan sharing his thoughts from last night's loss in the Meadowlands.
He's right, though, about, all right, we can say it, the coaches say it. If the guys are in the locker room are like, really? Really, Josh? Like, can there be... I thought maybe the Cincinnati game would have been the turning point. It seemed to look like more of an extension of what we saw in that Cincinnati game last
Truth. All right, we're going to take a break here, come back. Happy hour is right around the corner. We have time for your calls. If you've been trying to get through, try again. 866-4326, 585-866-4FAN. That's the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line. You can join us anytime. Reaction to last night's game. We'd love to hear it here during happy hour. We've got a round of shots. Last call as well. Before we go to break, Gino, who's hot and who's cold in fantasy football. By the way, nothing like losing your fantasy football matchup in walk-off fashion when your opponent has the New York Jets defense and they get the touchdown on the punt return and it's enough for them to beat you when you were comfortably in the lead going into last night's game. Just more salt in the wound for your hero over here.
Yeah, who's hot? Anytime you have 11 receptions, 215 yards against a team that went to the playoffs last year, I had Tyreek Hill, and we'll throw into, and that pains me to say, yes, the Miami Dolphins right now, very hot, and they get New England week 2. So no reason to think that is going to be slowing down. And who's cold? A quarterback we were all hoping for here. What about Kenny Pickett? That was as bad as an opening week performance. Who's hot and who's cold? I'm going to go with Kenny Pickett as being cold.
It's always fun and challenging to know when to start a player that's heating up or bench one that's cooling off. It's not fun to be too hot or too cold in your home or business. Make the best lineup call you can. Call AirQuip today. The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia coming back next with Happy Hour and your calls at 866-4326. The Fan, Rochester.
When people have a craving to explore new and traditional Asian cuisines, they head to P.F. Chang's, where scratch-made dishes come
W239BF Rochester. The sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Fan, Rochester. Sports update.
The day after the Buffalo Bills starting out 0-1. Next up, the Raiders. Buffalo opening as a 9-point favorite for week 2, despite the loss. It is official down in New York. Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers has a ruptured Achilles. Rodgers is out for the season. Former Syracuse and Buffalo Bills wide receiver Mike Williams has passed. This according to his agent. Mike Williams was 36. The lawsuit filed by a former NFL.com employee, Jim Trotter. Bills owner Terry Pegula is accused of making a racist comment. The Bills have put out a statement strongly denying the allegation. Game 1 of a doubleheader down in the Bronx. The Yankees winning this one. Game 2 against the Red Sox coming up tonight. Rochester Red Wings begin their final homestand of the season against Lehigh Valley. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Gibson runs under it, starts to his left, gets to the 40, turns the corner, at the 45, 50, blockers in front, at the 40, at the Bills 30, inside the 20, stutter steps to the 10, to the 5, touchdown! And it's a Jet touchdown! This game is over!
Picked off on the far sideline by Jordan Whitehead, number 3. Wow!
Yeah, trying to force the ball. Yeah, same place, different day.
Snap is fumbled by Allen, who lunges forward and fumbles the football. It's loose, and the Jets say they have it. And they do!
He can play better. I know he's capable of playing better. He's capable of playing smarter as well, and he's got to do that for us to, number one, stay healthy, and then number two, to take care of the football.
They played a really good defense last night, and they didn't score enough points to win.
Mike Danger.
Josh Allen's ability to, in the moment, make the right decision. Make better decisions.
Gene Battaglia.
Josh Allen has to know right from wrong. Defenses, stop taking chances that you should.
Number one, protect the football. Protect the football.
Here comes Leonard Floyd for the sack.
Now Rodgers going to go to the ground. He's now laying on his back, and he is injured here.
A morning MRI confirmed the Jets' worst fears. Aaron Rodgers tore his left Achilles tendon on his 4th snap of his debut last night.
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
John tweeting us on X at The Fan Rochester. Someone please tell Josh it's okay to win a boring game. Don't always need backyard football. What about the sex cannon that just gets unleashed last night when you have 10 yards of daylight in front of you? You can run for your first down, but instead you throw it deep. You're looking for your guy deep. You make the throw 70 yards downfield only to see it get picked off inside the 5. Everybody that I saw reacting to that play in the moment that it happened, well, it's just as good as a punt.
I like you mixing it up with people on Twitter because, okay, just as good. No, it's not. You turn the ball over. Can you score points when you don't have the ball? Generally speaking, no.
No. I just, at that moment, I'm like, oh boy, they're not going to win this game. Those are the kind of turnovers that can't happen. And it happened with regularity last season. It's happening again so far this season. And I'll say it because I say it all the time. You're not as bad as your worst loss, and you're not as good as your best. When a quarterback plays well, they get too much credit. When they play bad, they take too much blame. There's a lot to go around. But last night, against Zach freaking Wilson, who's now beaten Sean McDermott the last 2 times they've faced off.
Oh,
that's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough. I mean, you heard what I said, right? The last 2 times the Bills have faced Zach Wilson has beaten Sean McDermott's Buffalo Bills.
It was Mike White who was a quarterback last November in Buffalo.
When they won.
Yeah.
He almost died that afternoon, yeah. Matt Milano. There are so many little nuggets and stats and little pieces of film that if you're on your feed on social media, you're probably seeing stuff today, and none of it is being kind to Josh Allen. The stat that is most important to me that I kind of did see last night as all of this was unfolding, and I've been kind of asking Bills fans that I've been talking to throughout the day, take a guess. Just throw a number out there. Since the start of last season, the 19 games that Josh Allen has played, take a guess at how many turnovers he is directly responsible for.
I guessed under on this when you pinned this on me.
You said what?
25.
25. Yeah. You said 25. That's a high number too, by the way.
That's bad, yeah.
25 is bad. No. He has 37 turnovers in those 19 games. 20 interceptions, 17 fumbles. Almost 2 turnovers a game. And last night, Josh Allen was pressured 26% of his dropbacks, which was the 10th lowest of any quarterback. Despite that, he took the third most amount of hits. He was sacked the 5th most time in week 1. And he was sacked on 11% of his dropbacks, which was the 5th most as well. Just an ugly performance by 17.
Yeah, and it's, all right, is it the coaching that can't get through the message to 17? It's a chicken and the egg kind of argument here, because what did we hear all spring and all summer? I'm going to protect myself. I'm going to make smarter decisions.
Yeah.
I'm more dedicated to football than... And then you have Josh last night after loss saying this felt eerily similar. Like, we're back to where we were. And I'm just thinking... I'm starting to believe there's something upstairs with Josh Allen. You take it from a parenting standpoint, okay? If your kid does something wrong, you're going to tell him again. You're going to be patient. But then you got to be more clear. And then it's going to turn to punishment, which you don't want to do. You can't make this any more clearer to Josh Allen. His words in the postgame or during the week, they're all hollow at this point. That's not leadership. Absolutely hollow, because what you're saying is not what we're seeing on the field. So are you coachable or not? I think Josh Allen needs a sports psychologist. If he does not have a sports psychologist, if you are a sports psychologist, send your resume to the Buffalo Bills. Maybe they will hire you.
Well, I love the point that Mike Catalana brought up last hour. I think it's one worth exploring and diving into. And by the way, welcome to Happy Hour. We're all kind of licking our wounds here, dragging ass a little bit because we were all up late for that overtime loss. And maybe we're a little sour and a little cranky, as I think everybody that's a Bills fan is today. But you can join us and air your grievances at 866-4326, 585-866-4FAN. You could watch the Sports Bar at the Fan Rochester on YouTube and Twitch. We sound our best in the free-to-download Odyssey app. You can also get the Fan Rochester on your smart device when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan. Catalana brought up a point, and it's sound that we heard last night in the press conference from Sean McDermott. And it was a different kind of tone. What was his message to the team? And when you hear it, how, it's more words that kind of ring hollow. We have to get better. We have to learn from this. We have to get better. We have to make sure that this improves us. We have to do it fast, right? Like, I hear it, I'm like, yeah.
It's measured, that's what he said, yeah.
Right. We've heard this, and we've heard it over and over again. And then my question is, knowing that what we know, knowing that Andy Reid, when he was in Philadelphia, he wasn't the coach that he is now when he was in Philadelphia. Andy Reid was sloppy, never really made the most of his. It could get to a certain point, but the little details always kind of got to him. And afterwards, it was the same song and dance. It was, this one's on me. I need to be better. It starts with me. Andy Reid would always hold himself accountable. Sean McDermott doesn't do that. Sean McDermott does hit you over the head with a thicket of the same words over and over again.
Thicket?
And I'm starting to wonder, and this is what we brought up to Catalana. Do you think that messaging is wearing thin? Do you think that it's ringing hollow to the players, to the people that he's talking to? And what Catalana said, I think, is really interesting. Let me flip that. What if the players are going to turn on, if they're going to turn on anybody, it's going to be Allen. Because Allen's doing the same thing. He's saying the same thing. And your words are your words, but your actions matter. And he's been saying the same thing after a tough loss or a bad game over and over and over again, and it isn't changing. And the other thing that was worth noting from last night, it was Diggs who was propping up Josh Allen. It was Diggs who was firing up his guys. making the plays that you needed him to make when he Diggs is nice. He's always been nice.
Okay, so Bills are down 16-13. For everything that went wrong, you have the ball.
With way too much time.
You can drive. And Josh, he's defeated. You can tell in his eyes. Now, look, we don't know. He took a shot to the head. I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but he looked glassy-eyed and you see Diggs going over there trying to pump him up there. That's also a cause for concern that, yes, bad play, but you can't have your quarterback. It's a fine line. His confidence looked shot with the game on the line.
Yeah, can't have him sitting there wallowing in self-pity, feeling sorry for himself for all the mistakes that he's made, but he lost that game. So I think what Catalano brought up is actually a really, really strong point. Like, at what point, if this continues, do his teammates turn on him? Like, hey, man, we're all out here doing what we need to do. You just can't make the right decision. It's troubling.
Well, go back to the Cincinnati game where Diggs got all the flack at the end there. Wasn't that the start of this? Or the first thing that we actually saw in public?
Yeah, yes. But I feel like it's been this way since the start of last season. And so, okay, now we start talking about the constants, right? All right, what's changed from Allen? Well, it's Ken Dorsey. Ken Dorsey is... I'm not ready... And we were saying this all off season. I think Ken Dorsey is good at his job. I still believe that. Now, is Ken Dorsey able to manage Josh Allen? Josh Allen picked Ken Dorsey. Are they buddies, or can Ken Dorsey have the tough conversation with him? Does a tough conversation have to come from Sean McDermott for Allen to take it seriously? Don't know. Don't know what that dynamic is. But I can tell you that taking the word of your franchise quarterback as far as who the next offensive coordinator could be, instead of going through the process of talking to guys that might actually be better, that could be better suited, that might be exactly what he needs, not his buddy, but actually a guy that will get more out of him the way Daboll did. Well, that's just the arrogance of the Buffalo Bills. That's the arrogance of Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane. We know our guys. We got our guys. These are our guys. We knew them from Carolina. We knew them from this. We know them from that. We have relationships with them. Well, that's all fine and good, man. But right now, your quarterback is lost, and it doesn't seem like anybody is able to get through to him. Anybody. Even in the course of the game, when you see McDermott pointing at his head, be smart. Play smart. He wasn't playing smart last night. He was a giant dummy.
I agree with you on that, and everybody will point to the Diggs interception, and when you watch this back tonight, when you get home, if you want to look at it, maybe Evan, by the way, writing to us, one of our clients, I can't listen to your show today because the Buffalo Bills make me sick. I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. Like, for your mental health, you might be upset today, but this is also, we're also therapy here for you at 8664-FAN. And when you get only like 3 hours sleep, you lose your train of thought every once in a while, as I just did.
I don't know. Evan said, he can't listen. You're in a bad place. I walked into the studio today. Dan DeLorean's like, I didn't fall asleep until 3:30. I'm not even a Bills fan. I don't care about that game. I'm like, yeah, it was one of those games. And we haven't even talked about what everybody is talking about today. They're talking about Josh Allen's mistakes, but the big story isn't Josh Allen and the Bills. The big story is, oh my God, Aaron Rodgers is out for the season. Out for the season after 4 plays. All of that, 4 plays, done for the season. If you're a Jets fan saying, normally I would make fun of you for saying, oh, we're cursed. I would call you a loser. I'm like, that you're speaking the language of losers if you're saying you're cursed. I'll listen to that if you're a Jets fan after that injury. My God, the roller coaster of emotions that you must have been through last night when you got guys like me online heckling Jets fans for everything that was going on. The fan flipping off the bird. I mean, like, it was fun and funny.
Did you not think, Zach Wilson, interception, Matt Milano, here we go, everybody.
Yep.
Woo!
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And then for it to end the way that it ended. Hey, listen, Jets fan, I don't know if your team's a playoff team with Zach Wilson. I tend to think it probably isn't. But take that W from last night, savor it, enjoy it. That might be the highlight of your 2023 season. I don't know that it will be, but it could be. That was a pretty remarkable win in the face of adversity, and you have to give them credit for that.
There is this other story today concerning the Buffalo Bills, and this is unsavory. All right. And the Bills have put out a statement strongly denying this.
Well, I'm glad they didn't just want to deny it. They wanted to strongly
you gotta
deny it.
listen. You got to scream from the mountaintops. This isn't true, but this is the headline as it reads on ESPN. Bills owner made racist comment, lawsuit alleges. Okay, first of all, that shouldn't be the headline, okay? Lawsuit alleges, okay? And then you say that because you read the first part. We don't know if this is true or not. Here's the story. Jim Trotter, who was with in the National Football League as an in-house journalist. Now, you may remember this story. Like 2 years ago, Roger Goodell's annual press conference at the Super Bowl, and Jim Trotter asked him about minority hiring practices, and Roger Goodell gives his answer. Fast forward a year.
His stock answer.
Jim Trotter, who, mind you, works for the NFL,
That's right,
starts to press Roger Goodell on this, and Goodell was having none of it. In fact, Goodell's almost like offended, like, you're one of our employees. Why are you doing this to me in this fashion? Now, he doesn't get fired. He leaves. Jim Trotter is now with The Athletic and by proxy, the New York Times. He puts out this lawsuit, and there's also an allegation in there against Jerry Jones. I am not going to say what is alleged in the lawsuit because it's not fair. You can go look that up. And Danger, you know this, I know this. People half listen. So oh my gosh, what did Gene just say? Like,
Gene Battaglia is a racist.
No.
You could, instead of saying it, can you recite "I the Tiger" and then end it with, when you don't know the words, just go.
Well, let's say that if anybody said this and they owned a team, they would no longer be owning the team. That's my take here. And how do I know? Well, you had Jerry Richardson in Carolina saying some terrible things. He's no longer the owner. It's a terrible allegation right now. And this happened supposedly on some sort of meeting. And here's what I know about these meetings, Danger, in the year 20, whatever we're in. On Zoom, easy to record. You cannot make this allegation if you're Jim Trotter and try to wreck somebody. You better have something more substantial. I'm like, oh yeah, I kind of heard this from somebody. No. You cannot make that accusation without evidence, and Trotter has to know that.
Well, if there is evidence, if there is hard audio or video of Terry Pegula saying these things, then I would agree with you. I don't know that there is. In fact, in the last 3 days, we've had a lot of unsavory, go to Michigan State, a lot of unsavory.
We'll get to that in shots coming up. There's development in that.
A lot of unsavory allegations happening with high-profile coaches, high-profile owners. And I'm just doing my best, Gino. This is the new me. Mm-hmm. I'm going to reserve judgment until everything plays out.
But here's another fact, okay? And the audio exists. It's in the Buffalo News. The groundbreaking for Harbor Center.
2013.
2013. Terry Pegula made an off-color joke. Granted, the world has changed 10 years, but it wasn't cool to make a joke back then 10 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, he made the line that he made in 2013, the crack that he made at the groundbreaking ceremony was uncomfortable.
Yes.
Awkward and uncomfortable. And definitely unnecessary. But he made it. Yeah, the old man might have some explaining to do, but I'm not going to rush to judgment here. Let's let it play out because it is a serious allegation. And he's not the only one. Jerry Jones is also involved in this as well. Jerry Jones was also named in this lawsuit. I don't see any scenario where Jerry Jones isn't the owner of the Dallas Cowboys.
But in my opinion, what is alleged here against the Bills owner, it's like, oh my gosh, this is like you have to come back firing, saying this is absolute, which the Bills did. It took less than an hour for the statement to come out from the Buffalo Bills on this. And granted, I don't like talking about this, but we have to kind of bring this up. If the Bills are right now, the second story on ESPN.com, Bills owner made racist comments, lawsuit alleges.
That's the second story behind what they did last night in the Meadowlands, right? In Aaron Rodgers.
No, it's Rodgers out for the season.
Rodgers out for the season. We are going to be live Friday afternoon. And boy, given the way this week has started, I think a cold one or two may be in order at Three Heads Brewing on Atlantic Avenue.
We can share a cold one and maybe a win or two.
Friday Football Talk Live returns to Three Heads, Atlantic Avenue in the neighborhood of the arts. We'll be there from 3 until 6. We're inviting you to come out. You know the routine. We've done these before. We have a blast just talking sports with you every Friday afternoon there at Three Heads during the football season. We'll be there for the Raiders game. We've got some more dates planned for later on in the season. Friday Football Talk Live with the Sports Bar and the Fan Rochester. We are there at Three Heads again Friday afternoon from 3 until 6.
RSVP from Greg, our guy. Can't wait for Friday at Three Heads Brewing. Thank you, Greg.
Yeah, you don't have to RSVP, but if you want to reach out to us on X at the Fan Rochester, let us know that you're going to be stopping by. We'll be looking out for you.
And look, we talk as much as we can when we go to the commercial breaks, and some of the things we don't mention on there. Like if you want to know why Dangerous Taylor Swift story, well, come on out.
I need time. That's a good 15, 20-minute animated. I can do 20 minutes on why Taylor Swift is the devil. I can do that easily. So I don't know that we'll have time to go that deep into it, but we will make the time to say hi. And we will, thank you for stopping out to Three Heads in advance here Friday afternoon, 3 until 6, Friday Football Talk Live. And I wish we could stick around, but we got a very, very busy Friday night as well as we're heading off to HFL rivalry, Friday night rivals.
Yeah, Batavia HFL.
That's a good one. That's another good one. We've been blessed with some good Section 5 games so far this year.
So we are not only Rochester's only sports show, only local show in the afternoon, we're Rochester's most handsome radio show, and that's why they put us on TV.
Did your wife feed you those notes? I'm not saying that. I'm not going that far, pal. Can't do it.
Well, for the only sports show,
we're all that's left.
That's it.
Where else you gonna go? Yeah, we're all in Rochester. We're all you got. You don't like us? Too bad. We've got a round of shots coming up next in the Sports Bar.
Yeah, I'm going to leave it to your discretion. Maybe I won't. This Michigan State story and this allegation against Mel Tucker, we haven't dove into that. And, there's developments on that. Developments for the LA Dodgers situation. What, cosplay at a Cubs game last night? This isn't cool. And one hockey great actually changing sports, and I think this is cool.
The NFL season is here. Now's the time to get incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Mike Danger for FanDuel Sportsbook, the official partner of 95.7 The Fan. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now's the best time to join FanDuel. The app is easy to use. You can bet on everything from spreads to player props and more. So, visit FanDuel.com/Mike and kick off the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. 21 plus and physically present in New York. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. NFL Sunday Ticket offer ends 9/18/23. No refunds. Terms and embargoes apply. $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket, not YouTube TV. YouTube TV base plan required to watch YouTube TV. Redemption requires a Google account and current form of payment. Commercial use excluded. Subscription renews. Cancel anytime.
Odyssey has sports for every fan.
Sports Update.
Stunning loss for the Buffalo Bills. 4 turnovers by Bills quarterback Josh Allen. Now, Buffalo turning their attention to the Raiders. The Bills opening as a 9-point favorite. It is official down in New York City. Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers has a ruptured Achilles. Rodgers is out for the season. Former Buffalo Bills and Syracuse University wide receiver Mike Williams has passed. This according to his agent. Mike Williams was 36. In a lawsuit filed by a former NFL.com employee, Jim Trotter, Bills owner Terry Pegula is accused of making a racist comment. The Bills have put out a statement strongly denying the allegation. Yankees winning Game 1 of a doubleheader to get back to 500 against Boston. Game 2 coming up tonight. Rochester Red Wings beginning their final homestand of the season tonight. Lehigh Valley, the opponent. Gene Battaglia in the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
Straight up with no chaser. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Well, I mean, I'm telling him you gotta be smarter, and he knows better, and can't do that. And the coaches are doing the same. And listen, he's hard on himself. You guys know him. He's hard on himself. He wants to win, and sometimes that's what at times gets the best of him. Right, and so just taking what the defense gives you, and that's a good defense again. And they make you, when they play the way that they do, they make you do things that you don't want to do. But it can't be to that extent like it was tonight. So we got to learn from this and bounce back on a short week here.
It's an exasperated Sean McDermott last night after the Bills' fall to the Jets in the Meadowlands. We look ahead to week 2. At home against the Vegas Raiders, and we'll have that action for you here on the Fan Rochester pregame starting at 9 a.m. Sunday morning.
For a team that also prides itself on special teams, can we not look past that disastrous play? And I've looked at it, and I'm like, oh, Saran Neal, what are you doing? But that punt was terrible, too. You can't have a low-line drive kick like that in overtime.
Yeah, none of it was good there. There's so many moments. I mean, it's my only regret. The thing I feel like is the most unfortunate is that the NFL doesn't award a team an extra point for hitting an upright when attempting a field goal. Would have been a 4-point play instead of a 3-point play.
You win the game?
You win the game right there. You walk off because you doinked it off of the upright instead of just hitting it straight through.
I thought you were going to say because it was from 50 yards, and that helped a lot of people out fantasy-wise last night.
Don't talk to me about fantasy. Fantasy is awful. It is awful. It is terrible. When your team is comfortably leading and you have a guy walk off with that return because he started the New York Jets defense against you, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good.
What do we make of this story involving suspended Michigan State football head coach Mel Tucker? Tucker has been the theme here. He's adamantly denying claims that he sexually harassed a woman named Brenda Tracy. Brenda Tracy is a sexual assault awareness speaker. In a statement, and upon hearing about the claims, Tucker saying this is a sham. Tracy responding on social media with the acronym DARVO. I didn't know this. DARVO stands for Deny Attack and Reverse Victim and Offender, which I don't know how you prove it either way in this instance.
Look, this is the details of this are graphic and salacious, and I really don't have any stance on it. Like, I'm just going to let it play out. I really don't know. We've been through this so many times with so many athletes, coaches, victims, owners now, right? I'll just sit back and let it play out. I'll reserve my judgment. I don't like it. If it's true, it's disgusting. But what do we know? We don't.
Well, this is not the approach the LA Dodgers are taking, but then again, this could be a repeat offender. I mean, he got a second chance, Julio Urias. His court date isn't until September 27th, but there's every indication the Dodgers have moved on. The team has removed both murals of Urias from the stadium, and they cleaned out his locker. Wow. It no longer exists. The LA pitcher was arrested 2 Sundays ago on suspicion of domestic violence, and as we mentioned, he was previously suspended by MLB in 2019 under their domestic violence policy.
Yeah, again, you get a second chance and you blow it. I don't really have a ton of sympathy. If now this is suspension of suspicion of domestic violence. Was he charged with anything?
No. So he's on administrative leave, and that's what the court date is involving here. But I guess it's where's the line? Julio Urias he's a useful pitcher.
Yes.
He was the pitcher that was on the mound when the Dodgers won the 2020 World Series. When you're talking about like a punter, say, for instance, Matt Ariza.
Goodbye.
And okay, we're not going to wait to find out if this is true or not. But for Urias, the Dodgers did not, they didn't wait either. There was, on a much lighter note, a man at the Cubs-Rockies game in Colorado last night. I don't know if you saw this, Danger. Directly behind home plate, that was dressed in a Cubs hat, glasses, green turtleneck, and a sweatshirt. And yes, he had a Walkman on. Leave Bartman alone, okay? We were playing cosplay with Steve Bartman. It will be nearly 20 years now, this October, since that happened in the Marlins against in the NLCS. Bartman still out of the public eye. That was not him last night. Trust me. With less than 3 games to go, the Cubs are in the second wildcard position. Philadelphia is first. Diamondbacks are a game and a half up on the Giants and Marlins. The 2 back are the Reds.
Yeah, that story is so sad and pathetic. Not because of Bartman and what he did, because of everybody's reaction to Bartman and what he did. It's just sad and pathetic. The guy shouldn't have to go into hiding and disappear from the public eye because of what happened.
Did you ever see the 30 for 30 on that? It's fascinating how literally they had to give him a disguise and get him out, and he is he's vanished.
Yeah.
It's so sad. Terrible. Finally, we get ready for another hockey season. Can you believe that we're going to have Sabres hockey at Harbor Center coming up this week?
I'm not ready for it, but yes.
Yeah, it's coming. So you're not ready for it too because, that means the weather will be changing. But not coming back to hockey is the former Bruins defenseman, Islanders, Sens as well, Zdeno Chara.
Oh.
How we know this? He's now competing in a different sport. He's running marathons.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how tall is he?
He's 6'7",
Yeah,
6'8".
yeah. Chara completing the Boston Marathon in 3 hours, 38 minutes, 23 seconds in November. He'll run the New York City Marathon. How funny is this? Joey Kipchoge, our guy.
Oh, Joey, yeah.
Yeah, Joey. I saw him last night at trivia night. And we're going to have, we're trying to put together a watch party for him. That's going to be the first Saturday in February.
I want in on that. Tell me when that happens.
Yeah, so first Saturday in February, our friend Joey, if you're not familiar, he is now in Rochester, marrying the Rochester girl. He's from Buffalo originally, and he is in the U.S. Olympic trial for the marathon.
Yeah.
And he's explained to me, he is running the New York City Marathon, but he's in the pro level.
Yeah.
So when you're watching the New York City Marathon, we'll see, okay, how did Joey...
Throngs and throngs of people. He won't be a part of that. He'll be up in front of everybody.
He's up in front there with the Kenyans and whatnot. Back to Chara. He's going to run more. He's going to run Tokyo, London, Berlin, and Chicago. This is cool because how many athletes do we see, hey, I'm retired, I don't have anything to do with my life? Well, this is Chara finding something else here.
I'm jealous, man. I wish I had more time to devote to it. I love it. I probably do it on average this year. It's been about 4.5 times a week, I would say. I'm out there and I'm running, but I'm not doing the distance because I just don't have the time. I'm doing it because it makes me feel good. I'm doing it because it's an escape. I'm doing it because I think there are mental and physical benefits to doing it. I've done the marathon twice, so I know how much goes into it. Anybody can do it if you commit the time to doing it and you really enjoy doing it.
Oprah did it.
Right. Anybody can do it. It seems like it's daunting, and it is. It's a good challenge for anybody. But I'm like Chara. I would love to run the Chicago Marathon. I would love to run the New York City Marathon. But I just know the amount of training that's involved in that. If I had that time, maybe I would commit to it. Give him credit for having that as a goal and getting after it. That's a pretty good time for Boston as well. Boston ain't easy. Just qualifying for Boston ain't easy. So good for Big Z. Yeah, truthfully, in the NHL, he was one of those guys. I was never a big fan of him, but you had to respect him.
No, he was a guy, I wish I had him on my team.
Yeah, he's a guy you have to respect. Yeah. You have to respect that guy's game. Just the size, the physicality.
He played Stanley Cup playoffs with a broken jaw.
Yeah. Hockey players are wired differently, man.
We were talking earlier in the sports bar, wait a second. Okay, Josh Allen was bad. There were other players bad last night, including Spencer Brown. But the problem is, who do you really trust? Chris writing and pointing this out. Field Yates. The Bengals have released La'el Collins from POP. He's now a free agent. Do we trust La'el Collins at this point?
I don't trust anybody. I don't trust anybody. No, because if we want to assess blame today, sure, it can start with Josh Allen. But then when you dig deeper, it goes all the way up the chain. And you have to look at the job that not just Ken Dorsey, but Sean McDermott have done. And then I start to wonder, is this guy in over his head? Are his words wearing thin? Is the process and the culture and everything that he's talked about building, is it all just a fraudulent sham that nobody really is bought in on? That the guys aren't responding to, and none of his guys are responding. So, you didn't have a plan at middle linebacker, and if you did, it blew up in your face, and now you're working through this contingency plan where you give Bernard the start, even though he didn't really earn it in training camp or the preseason. I think there's a lot of questions around the job that Sean McDermott has done the last couple of seasons, ever since Dayball left.
Well, in the blame pie we give after defeat, it's a bad look when Kyer Elam is inactive. You cannot have a number 1 overall pick game day inactive. No, that's because, look, Christian Benford had a good game last night.
Yep.
But you can't have him on. You can't beat out Dane Jackson?
Lots of takeaways from last night's game. I'll say this about the Jets. You have to respect what they did last night, coming back. Even Zach Wilson, who wasn't pretty, but the touchdown pass was fantastic. That might be the catch of the year, and we've already seen it here in week 1. Garrett Wilson kind of taking the deflection, batting it to himself. It was deflected by White, batted it to himself, bobbled catch. I don't know that we're going to see something like that. I don't know that I've ever seen a catch like that before, where it looked like White did all the right things, and it still didn't work. It's one of those plays where it's like, when you see it, you're like, ooh, yeah, I don't like our chances. The gods are in their favor tonight.
Our guy Frank in the office said this with a straight face. Zach Wilson's going to lead the Jets to the Super Bowl.
I'm not buying into that, Frank. Sorry. Hey, look, if you're a Jets fan, enjoy today. Enjoy it, man.
Right.
That's a fun win. That was a fun, memorable win. Enjoy it.
On 9-11 and the coach running down to the end zone.
By the way, that's and I'm sorry, I'm going to not give credit where it's due. Somebody mentioned that in our feed. Maybe it was Peter. The idea, Peter, the Jets fan. Maybe it was that caught my eye. Salah being one of the first guys there on the pile. Like, that's a coach that's engaged. He's engaged, not in a way like where he's just standing there clapping his hands, not for the optics. He's in it.
I want to thank everybody because we've gotten a lot of feedback and we've yet to have one person. And this shows you're in line with us here. And if somebody blames this, correct them. Do not blame the officials for last night.
No.
That was a leg whip. Okay, if they throw the flag, then the Jets get the ball at the 38-yard line, and they're kicking a field goal 3 plays later.
Right.
Who cares?
Yeah, John Perry at the end of the game just pouring gasoline on the fire for the language of losers. Oh, the referees, it's right. You're a loser. Don't blame officiating when your team loses the game.
Sam Martin too, like, oh my gosh, can you at least pretend to make a tackle when the game's on the line? Like,
It was a pretty kicker move by the kicker. Ugh, kickers. We got last call next. Time for closing time in the sports bar. You can join us at 866-4326 as we close up shop. We'll get ready for Wednesday afternoon in the sports bar, tell you who's stopping by as well, and where you can get our guest appearances from today's show. Mike Catalana from 13 Wham Sports and Buffalo Plus. Also Matt Perino of the Syracuse Post-Standard. All that and more next here in the sports bar. Danger and Battaglia, the Fan, Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your favorite team.
Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
I don't know. I'll have to talk to Kyle and Shane on the sideline and Joe and figure out what we can do best going forward and how to control that.
To that point, did they kind of snowball, or were they all just very separate, the infections?
They were separate. And again, I don't think it's really anything they did. And make no mistake, they're a heck of a defense. But, I made the decisions.
It did look like you were having some conversations with Shaw and stepped in between those. What were they telling you to try to get you back on track during those moments?
Just to keep trusting myself.
With Rodgers, what was the thought? When they lose Rodgers to still play the game? What do you mean?
The thought was got to still continue to play football.
Josh Allen last night after the Bills lose in overtime to the New York Jets. It's a sports bar with Danger and Battaglia. Welcome to Last Call. Closing time in the sports bar. Tomorrow, another fun show. We'll be joined by, as we are every Wednesday, the host of BetQL's Send It In, PJ Glasser, stops by at 3:25. Insider Calls presented by BetMGM. Go check out all the latest lines today on the BetMGM app.
866-4FAN, 866-4326. John in Rochester. John, what's up, buddy?
Yeah, thanks, guys. I'd like to make a couple of comments about the game and just the team in general, and then maybe perhaps get your thoughts as well on it. I see this situation as a leadership issue, a coaching issue. If you look at the league, every successful team, or virtually every successful team, has an offensive-minded head coach, or if it's not a head coach, they have an excellent offensive coordinator. And Sean McDermott is a great human being. He's an excellent defensive coach, and he's a great culture builder. That's exactly what the Bills needed, but I think he's limited in respect to being able to take the Bills to that next step. I think his coaching limitations, were borne out in the last 2 years in a row in the playoffs. It was evident that we were clearly outcoached as well. So I think that's a primary issue. I think they have to make a tough decision in the next year or two and get an offensive-minded head coach. It's been 5 years, and he still can't get the offensive line right. And most other successful teams, offensive coordinators can do it in a year. So I look beyond the game last night and Josh Allen's performances. He needs another Brian Daboll, and I think we need an offensive-minded head coach to take that next step. And with that, I'll let you, go with that.
That's excellent. I agree with a lot of what you said. And if the season does not turn around, again, it's only one game, but the idea that Sean McDermott has divided responsibilities now, if Ken Dorsey is upstairs, who's down there when things are going sideways? It's not Stephon Diggs' job to coach up Josh Allen on the sidelines. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't like the there's an air of arrogance around being a McDermott in terms of what they do and how they do it. And they deserve a lot of credit for pulling this team out of the doldrum that they were in for all those years during the drought. But there is something to be said for the question of, can they literally take this team to the next level? We know what it looks like up to this point, but we need more. And you're not right. Right now, you're just not seeing it, how the roster is constructed and how this team continues to make mistakes, little details that fall through the cracks, the way they've lost some of these games. But it is an overreaction to a Week 1 game. And maybe they aren't as bad as they looked at times last night. Maybe Josh Allen rebounds. As soon as Sunday, we'll find out against the Raiders. Game you'll be able to hear on the Fan Rochester. We'll talk more Bills, Raiders tomorrow in the sports bar. PJ Glasser at 3:25 and more of your calls as well. Appreciate you listening. Zach Gelb next on the Fan Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for